listening to the Liquid Shape Podcast with your host, Cody Perez.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Liquid Shape Podcast with none other than Cody Perez and
Mariah Longfellow.
Fellow or feller?
Whatever. Feller.
Feller.
Longfellow for your
Longfeller.
mouth.
You're from Lions, so I say feller.
Anyway, don't be jealous.
Good morning. It's morning, Saturday morning, and we're drinking corporate coffee. Remember how much shit we were talking about corporate coffee last week?
Hey, I've always been a Starbucks basic bitch, so I have nothing to hide. I will venture out and try local coffee, but
Well,
I'm
I asked you to. This morning I asked you, hey, let's go ahead and try some new coffee or some new spot for the podcast. And of course, you said, because I said last week's coffee was not that great. We ventured out. It was not very good. And so you did say, well, Starbucks, blah, blah, blah. So
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure people will disagree with me. You know, it is what it is. But I drink Americanos. And so I like the way Starbucks' beans taste. So it's like sometimes when I go to local shops.
I love Americanos as well. But there's certain spots like you go to, like anytime we've gone to an Italian restaurant, it seems like they have the best coffee.
Well, yeah, but I'm not going to go to an Italian restaurant. They're not going to be open when I eat a coffee in the morning.
Well, yeah, that's true. You
Otherwise,
need to buy that
I
machine. You're talking about buying that damn machine and you haven't bought it yet.
Well, I think I'm fabulous, but I'll be real.
We also have the boys here, so you might hear them grunting and licking and slobbering and all sorts of stuff. So we have the one and only Tasmanian Devil Perez, and we have
Lorenzo Alejandro Perez.
That's right. So they're here with us, and I've shared a picture of them I've shared lots of pictures of them on my personal page, but obviously on the Liquid Shape Podcast as well page, so you can see what they look like. They're adorable little guys. They're how old are they? They're 3 years old. They're about to be 4.
For July 5th.
I don't want my boys growing. That's sad.
So they are cancers, and they do live up to the cancer sensitivity, but they're fun.
So how was your week? Anything fun, exciting last weekend since we last were on the podcast? Anything new?
Well, we mentioned the fusion that it was done, but we hadn't taken it yet. But so that's all done, and that relief is gone. So thanks, Rommel, so much for that. I appreciate it.
Shout out to Rommel.
So that's gone.
You got shit done.
You paid back for the transmission.
Just paying bills, huh?
Paying some bills, yeah. So that's always good. But yeah, the week was good. I mean, there was a lot of sunshine this week, I feel like, for the rainy PNW.
Yeah. It's been a busy week, man. Everything from work stuff and band stuff, and we have, hey, calm down. These little dogs, man. Band stuff, podcast stuff, just interviews in and out of band stuff that we've been so crazy busy with the band, and I love it. I love being busy because it keeps me out of trouble. I always tell people like that keeping me busy is a good thing because it keeps me from going out and doing stupid shit.
Idle hands is the devil's playground.
It is. That's a fact. So tomorrow we're preparing for a brand new music video, an American Overdose. We're going to be doing a video for a brand new song that I'm very excited for because it's going to be very different than we've ever done in the past. I'm not going to give away too much about it, but it's going to be very special, very different than we've ever done. People are going to be like completely thrown off because we just put out a pretty heavy melodic song, I guess, with Time Bomb. But this
Time Bomb every time.
But this one's going to completely go a different route that people are going to be like, what the hell? Like, why would you do that? Or like, why would you give us something heavier? And then all of a sudden you go a completely different route. But that's what I want out of American Overdose. I want us to be unpredictable. I don't want to build up walls where people know exactly what we're going to put out. I want to be unpredictable, and I want to show different sides of the different talents that we have in the band, because my band, we have a lot of very talented musicians and artists in the band that play multiple instruments and they have multiple talents, and I want to showcase that, and I'm very proud of that. So,
and it's art.
It's art, exactly. There should be no limitations. Art is a wonderful thing. It's an expression of the soul, man.
That's why I hate when people get like smash on bands and stuff, especially ones that have been around for a long time. They're like, "Oh, the new stuff doesn't sound like the old stuff." Well, why the fuck would you want the old stuff? That's the whole point.
People evolve.
You progress, you evolve. Like if you like the older stuff, listen to the fucking older stuff.
Like your boys in the Deftones, huh?
Yeah.
Tell me about the Deftones.
I love Deftones through and through, and I always have since I was turned on to them like freshman year of high school, way back in the day. Do I like every album? Absolutely not. You know, there's the whole like 2003 to like 8. That was just kind of weird.
That's some good stuff in there, though.
They did. No, there's some good stuff in there, but I'm not going to say they had super stellar stuff. But I mean, I still think they're fabulous. I still support them. They're still my favorite.
I think they're bigger now than they were
I think
back in their
TikTok,
supposed prime.
has pushed them a lot. They've really stepped up like their marketing and all that stuff too. So, and I've noticed like a lot of the younger generations are really into them too. So
they sold out the Moda last time we saw them. Yeah. That's crazy. Like, I remember not too long ago in the 2010s, they were playing like the Roseland Theater, which is a 1,200 seater. Now they're playing the Rose Garden or the Moda Center now, which I don't know how many people it holds.
The first time I saw them was 2009 when they opened for Slipknot, and I can't remember if that was the Memorial Coliseum.
Probably.
I think it was.
Sounds about right.
I was hammered. Shocker.
Wow.
The second time I saw him was at the Crystal, and that was cool. That was like 2012.
So yeah, they've been playing smaller clubs and whatnot, like.
And then the last 2 times, the Moda. So it's like, wow.
And their last album's fucking awesome. If you haven't checked it out,
I think it's fabulous.
Amazing, front to back. It's fucking great.
Everybody's different. A lot of people still, even 30 plus years later, still like to hold them to their first album, Adrenaline. Don't get me wrong, Adrenaline's a fucking kick-ass fucking album. One of my favorites, absolutely. But
not their best, I would say. It's
great.
Not
their best, but I think it's fabulous. I think it's a fucking, if I'm ready to like, fucking let's go.
It's a great album.
I'm going to put on some fucking Adrenaline. Let's go. But I think the new one's great. I think they've really...
They know who they are. That's what I like.
They are, yeah. And I believe Chino said he's sober, like he's a couple years sober now. And so I think that's great. And I think it shows, like...
I love it. It's
his art is just,
it's getting better.
His vision's just there. It's clearer, I think, for him. So hell yeah.
Fuck yeah. I love it. All right. Well, like I said, it's been a good week. It's been busy. So we will go on with the question of the week. And this one was a busy one. I love the participation. I love that a lot of new people stepped up and reached out to us. And I hope that they continue to do that because we got some great responses on this. And I'm just excited to like conversate about this and just it's exciting for sure. So I'll go ahead and read the question of the week for this week that we just did. It was, how do you rebuild after losing everything you thought was stable? Life doesn't always fall apart all at once, and rebuilding looks different for everyone. If you're comfortable sharing, consider one or more of the following questions below. Was the loss sudden, or did you feel it coming? Did you try to hold things together longer than you should have? Which emotion hit you the hardest? Fear, anger, shame, or grief? What part of your identity did you have to rebuild first? What was the first step you took to start over? Big or small? What did you stop chasing once you began rebuilding? What kind of support helped you the most? Did starting over force you to set boundaries you had avoided before? What would you say to someone who is in the middle of losing everything? What mistakes should others avoid when rebuilding? What helped you keep going when it felt pointless? It's powerful, man. This is what these questions of the week are about, is to get people thinking, reflecting. And I always say this, please share your thoughts because nothing is off the table with your thoughts. It might help somebody. It literally could save somebody's life. Like, and that sounds dramatic to say, but it's very true. Some of these things helped me. I'm like, I look at things differently. I'm like, oh, it's inspiring too. So we'll start with my buddy Steve Helmer. He said, the greatest wisdom I have ever obtained came from this interview with Rick Rubin. It's 2.5 hours long. All the answers are in it. All right, Steve. I got to watch that. I was just talking about that right now with Mariah. I will definitely check it out. I do like the work that Rick Rubin has done. For anyone that doesn't know who Rick Rubin is, I guarantee you know his work. He's worked with a ton of huge artists, one of the biggest producer names out there. So he's got the link in here and I'll definitely go ahead and check it out.
And he's a weekly, I like his responses. He always has good stuff.
Very, very wise man. The next one is from Wesley Light. Shout out to Wesley. She was a former landlord for American Overdoses practice spot. So thank you for responding, Wesley, and thanks for having us and putting up with our craziness. She says, I went from 6 figures to a fraction of that after my divorce, and it wrecked my identity more than my bank account. I had built trust fast. People knew my name, believed in me, and losing that momentum crushed my self-worth. The first step to rebuilding wasn't a big win, it was survival. I got resourceful. I sold what I could, bartended on nights without my kids, refinanced, rented out parts of my home, my shop, my garage, whatever it took. What kept me going when it felt pointless was simple. I refused to let the lights go off or the bills go unpaid. 4 years later, I've never been late on a single one. I just kept moving forward even when my confidence didn't catch up yet. I stopped chasing validation. I had to rebuild who I was when the applause disappeared and learn the consistency, not confidence, is what actually saves you. Very good. I love that. That is, yeah, it's.
I mean, ultimately, yeah, when big things happen, you have to do what you got to do, especially when you have kids. So, I mean, I think that's huge, that you did that, Wesley. I mean, you got to work, bartend, nights, weekends, whatever it takes. Got to keep the babies fed and the lights on. So, I mean, I think that's respectable.
I think the key word she said there was survival. And I was just
Yeah.
talking to someone about this the other
Really
day.
is.
It's like, humans were meant to survive. I think it's actually on one of my podcasts with Josh Holland. Humans were meant to survive. Like, that's what we're built for. And this is awesome that you did everything you could. Like, that reminds me of like me, because I like anytime that I've ever hit some craziness, chaos, or some curveball that life throws at me, I'm just like, okay, well, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. I'm going to do whatever I need to do to make things happen and to not let this put a roadblock in my way and let it defeat me. It's kind of, I feel like when life throws things like this at you, it's just a test to see, okay,
Absolutely.
how bad do you want it?
Right. Well, and also kind of going back to what I think both of us have said on previous episodes is that and I think you do too, I personally believe that everything happens for a reason and we're all meant to to go through what we're supposed to go through, good and bad, as shitty as it is. It builds us, builds our character.
Yeah, at the end of the day, to me, what it is like, okay, you kind of, and I can be one of those people that sometimes I like when I don't expect something to hit me, I'm like, oh, like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I start freaking out. And it usually takes me a second to just start, it's like, I have to remind myself, pause.
Mm.
And this is not the end of the world. I'm still breathing. I will figure it out from here. And just like, if you need to be one of those persons that writes things down, if you're one of those persons that has to like vent to somebody and maybe they throw some advice at you, there's different ways to talk yourself into just getting it done. Reflecting back, one of the big things is reflecting back on some of your hardest moments in life and knowing that, hey, I'm still here. I got through that.
Yep.
I'm going to get through this. It's going to happen. I'm going to get through it. I don't know how, and that's scary. Not knowing, the unknown is scary, but you went through some crazy things in the past and you got through it. This is just going to be another one of those moments that,
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not going to like push like God or religion. I'm not religious, but I do have my faith. So for me personally, it's just staying. I mean, this probably sounds ghetto, but staying prayed up, good and bad. I always pray. I always pray. And I mean, whether you agree with me or not, that's totally fine. You don't have to do what I do, obviously. And again, I'm not going to push what I believe or whatever. But even at my worst, crying tears just on my knees saying, God, please get me out of this horrible situation. Please help me. Please help me. I mean, it didn't happen overnight, but it happened. And it was beautiful. And here we are.
And sometimes just letting that out, honestly, just falling on your knees and just letting out that cry, letting out that anger, letting out that whatever can be just what you need. Because then it gives you some time to breathe eventually. Once the crying stops, once the anger, the confusion, or the shock wears off, then you can really recollect yourself and the clarity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
because you're able to get those emotions out so your brain can actually say, okay, now we're out of chaos mode. What is our plan? So I think that's when you hit survival is, okay, what is the game plan? We got to move or we got to get this going. What are we doing?
all right, I'll let you read the next one.
All right, Miss Deidre Ramel, Joshua's wifey. I love me some Deeds. You're the best.
Shout out to the Rummels.
The Rummels, they're the bestest. So Deidre said, rebuilding started when I finally accepted that the things I thought were stable weren't. Some of the loss I felt coming, some of it hit me out of nowhere, and both were equally disorienting. Leaving my daughter's father was the slow unravel. I held things together longer than I should have because I was chasing the version of family I thought I was supposed to have. Letting that vision go felt like grief, not just for the relationship, but for the future, I imagined. There was fear. Yes, but the grief was the heaviest. Mourning something that was never quite right is a strange kind of loss. Recently, I lost my career after 15 years. This was a sudden kind of loss. One day I had an identity, a title, and a plan, and the next, it was gone. At 40, I'm starting over in a completely opposite field, forcing me to rebuild my sense of self before anything else. I have to remember who I am without the labels, the job, or the external validation. The step I took was small. I got quiet. I have stepped back from social media quite a bit, stopped asking for reassurance, and started listening inward instead. I am paying attention to the small things, the moments of calm, the unexpected opportunities, the sense of alignment, even when things are hard. I stopped chasing approval and certainty and am learning to trust myself. What helps is the belief that even if I can't see the whole path, I'm still exactly where I'm meant to be. Progress doesn't always look impressive. It's just choosing myself again quietly. I'm trying to avoid making things look normal again too quickly. My people will love me even if my life has to change from what it was. Healing isn't about appearances, it's about alignment. I read somewhere rebuilding isn't about starting over or someone new, it's about returning to who you were before the world told you who to be. I love this, Deeds, and I'm so proud of you. And I'm just like you said, it's a chance to be the you that you want to be outside of a title or like an image that you thought you had to be. So I'm excited to see where you go. And I know you're going to do great, and I will always support you.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm very excited for Deidre here, just because she's so for anyone's listening out there, she is a close personal friend of ours, and so she's taken on a new path and reaching for some of her goals she's been wanting to do, and I'm very proud of her for going after that. And 40 is a great age to start doing something different and really turning up the volume, because I feel like our 40s are our prime, honestly. And if you go in with that mentality of what, this is where life really starts, so it's all a mindset. So very happy for you for chasing after your dreams and going for what you want to do and living it. And if this is a good reminder with what she said, is that unfortunately our jobs make us sometimes feel like the title is like, especially I know people at work that I've worked with in the past, they take that title so serious, and like, especially if they're in a position of being a supervisor or a manager or a lead or something like that, they take that freaking thing to the max, like to their ego, and they live by that. And it's like, dude, your job just pays your bills. Like, it's not like you're not the sheriff of the town, you're not the freaking sheriff of the state, you're not.
And they just stress themselves out too. I remember my first dose of like that was when I lived in Colorado and I started working for an insurance company. I was in the claims department and seeing all these like new grads coming in. So they're like, what, 23, 24, give or take. And they're just like, yes, this is my first big adult job after college. And here I am. And they're just stressing themselves out and like trying to climb the ladder because they have this image of what they have to be. Then they have to get married. They have to have kids. They have to have this big $500,000 house and this nice car and, keep climbing, keep climbing, keep climbing. And I'm just sitting here because at that time I'm at least 8 years older than a lot of these people. And I'm just sitting here and I'm like, breathe and slow down. Like, is this what you want or what society's told you or what families maybe pressured you to become? Is this what you want? It's your life.
Yeah.
What makes you happy? What lights your fire? You can't tell me it's sitting here in fucking the claims department getting screamed at by homeowners, business owners, car owners. We did everything, especially after I hate to say the word, a hailstorm and people's cars are totaled or this and that. And, the insurance adjusters just getting ripped apart. They're 23. They don't know. And it's like, man.
Well, like, to go back at that, like the title is only so much too, like with work. I know that I wanted to be in leadership for so long at work. And it's like, I thought that I was going to come in there and like, if I got a job like that I was going to be able to make changes that I thought were appropriate and fit. And that's really not the case. What I found out when I tried to go through the corporate ladder of being in leadership is, no offense to anyone that's in that, you're puppets. You're puppets for a higher powers that are telling you what to do and what to dictate on other people. You really don't have that much control over change. You might have a little bit of voice, but not really. And once I found that out, I was like, I'm done. I don't ever want to be in leadership at a corporate company. I can be a leader on my own, in my own life, and influence the people around me and be an informal leader. You know what I mean? I don't need that freaking title. Like, I can. It's about how you live, and the title doesn't mean shit at work. So,
no. And the thing you have to remember about work, I think people forget this, especially, just coming from me, I know I'm a broken record. I'm in HR, blah, 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 right? I will always tell you this. It is your senior leaders. That is who's controlling your company, not HR. What HR is pushing out is what senior leadership's pushing up their ass to push out. So you don't like what's happening in a company, you don't like this. It's not HR necessarily. It's your CEO and down.
Yep. And I love what she said here about like the relationship stuff. Mine, I'm going to talk more about relationships probably on my portion of it. So I'm not going to comment too much on this, but her realizing what she wanted versus what she thought society was ever telling her that needed to be or whatnot. So awesome job, Deidre.
We love you.
The next one is from William Reynolds. As a guy who just left a 9-year-old marriage and a 13-year relationship where I was faithful the whole time and she became a lying, cheating, drunken whore, I'd love to share my story, LOL. He didn't comment the rest. William, I wish you would have shared your story. Unfortunately, it's already too late because we're doing the episode right now. But I hear you on that, man. I hear you on that. And like I said, we'll touch more on relationships once I get to my portion on my views. But I'm very sorry that you went through that. But you know what, dude? This is an opportunity for you to start over and find someone that actually matters to you, that can respect you and match your energy and your love and commitment.
And I just hope too, like my advice, William, is don't let this taint your vision of others' future relationships. Not everybody's like this. Unfortunately, that happened. I've had it happen to me before as well, but I would just say, keep a clear mind to say that just wasn't for me. I mean, yes, it was a lot of time, but think of the positives. What did you learn from this? What will you not accept moving forward? Because when you're in relationships like this and things fall out and spiral, there's signs. A lot of times, maybe not in yours, but just say, that's what that was. I'm going to move on. That's unfortunate, but this is what I've learned. My next love is not going to be that, and these are my expectations and XYZ. So I'm excited for you. I'm sorry this happened, but you're going to be the best you yet.
And kind of to go back on what Deidre said earlier about you're not really restarting.
Yeah.
So I made a post about this not too long ago, but you're never really starting from scratch. You now have a print of what didn't work for you, what you didn't like and what you did like. So that's the good thing, is that now you know what to look for, hopefully. You know what you don't want, what you won't put up with, what you're looking for. And, hopefully your standards are adjusting to a different measure, and you find exactly what you're looking for, because there's someone out there for everybody.
Absolutely. Right. Next one's from our other weekly friend, Kyrus Emberborn. They said, I'm still in a rebuilding stage. I was on a downward spiral for years due to 2 poor choices in romantic partners. The first I had a child with, she manipulated our kid into pushing me away, and I became alienated. The second destroyed my sense of self and took me roughly 7 years and loads of therapy to find myself again. I lost everything: my home, my kid, my band, my love, my job, my family, and friends. I was stripped to a husk. Through therapy, I began to learn that I'm not worthless and I'm not a burden. I also uncovered a slew of childhood trauma, which resulted in my choice of romantic partners. I wanted to die. I felt so overwhelmed at these issues I never asked for but had to become my responsibility to fix. Over time, some days would be better, and I began focusing on writing music and pouring my trauma into my songs. Mindfulness, meditation, affirmations, and loads of self-help books and research have been my saviors. In the darkness, I sought to arm myself with knowledge. I begun to follow the example of people I admire and emulate their inspiring traits. And I've had a goal and vision that I've never let go of. With that being said, I've held a mantra for the hard times and offer myself grace when I don't kick ass on some days. Day by day, in every way, I am getting better and better. Good for you. I love that. I think we all go through some shit, right? Obviously, there's always somebody that's had it worse, or maybe you've had it, you know what I mean? But I think this is just so great that, that for one, I've said it before, I'm a big for therapy. For me, it helps. Again, it might take you a couple times to find that right therapist. But it's so worth it, because once you find that person you connect with and they just can help you just rearrange your thinking is really what it is. And they give you tools. Like when you start getting all chaotic in your head, they give you tools. And it's kind of silly, because for me, when my therapist was giving me tools, I'm like, why didn't I think of that? Well, that's why therapy's there, because you're not always thinking clearly, because there's a lot of things happening, life, so it's just kind of easy. But I love the mindfulness, meditation, affirmations. I think that's huge. I truly believe that what you put out in the universe is what you get back. So if you're just spewing negativity, woe is me, my trauma, my this, my that, it's going to eat you alive. So if you can just find a way, like you have, to just really embrace it and say, you know what? This has been some shitty shit that I've been through. But you know what? I'm not going to let it define me. I'm going to be the best me. Here are my goals. Here are my affirmations. Put out that positivity because it will come back to you.
100%. I agree with everything you just said. And if anything, maybe what the cost of learning to go through therapy and the songs you were able to put together and work on taking in the knowledge and using that as your armor, like you mentioned, like that kind of stuff is the cost of dealing with that.
Yep.
But it's also the reward that you now have, and that now you're able to say, well, you know what? I went through all that horrible stuff, but maybe I wouldn't have done these other things that helped me better myself, to armor myself, if I wouldn't have gone through that. So I love that.
And just like another kind of kick on therapy, I just want, people may not know this, but a lot of the times they do take insurance and you just have to pay a copay. So definitely keep that in mind. Or if you don't have insurance, but say you do work for a company that offers an employee assistance program, an EAP, typically with those, and it's free to employees, typically within that, there is like say 5 free therapy sessions. So, I mean, and 5, I think, is a lot to really help and get you going and get those tools. So really, if you are in a downtime, you're like, I can't afford a therapist, or maybe I don't have insurance, or I can't find anyone that takes my insurance. I know it's a wild world with insurance, as always. Look into your company, see what your company's resources are, because oftentimes they should have an EAP, an employee assistance program, and oftentimes those do have a therapy component.
I love that.
That's free to you.
Thank you for sharing that
Yes.
knowledge. Honestly, that's good information to have, and hopefully someone will take that and use it. Next one is from Neckbeard News.
I love this.
I do what Fred Rogers used to do and look for the helpers. In my case, it's my best friend and her boyfriend. When my ex-girlfriend financially blackmailed me out of our apartment, I had to go live on the floor of my best friend's guest room. From there, I found out a different friend needed a roommate, eventually moved to a new county just to have my own space again, ignoring the new long commute to work. Fast forward 10 plus years, I'm a homeowner now. Me and my best friend pay a mortgage together. Rebuilding is hard, but slightly easier when you know good friends. Unfortunately, some people are blessed with many friends, but no good ones. And it's easy to tell who is who when you ask for help on social media and those fakes think it's cute to laugh react your struggles. That is 100% true, and good for you for being a homeowner. So I'm clapping for that. That is really awesome that you were able to rebuild and you came out better in the end of this. And you're 100% right. I'm all about now quality, not quantity. And that was a long lesson that I had to learn growing up. I always wanted to have the most friends. I never cared really what people thought of me. I just never have. But I wanted to have friends everywhere and just a bunch of friends. And as I've gotten older, my standards are getting higher and higher of what I keep around and what I put up with and whatnot. So I have limited access to myself because I value my time. I value my friendship. I value who I am now much more than I did when I was younger. So,
and it's all about protecting your energy too. And I don't know, you can just feel when someone's not right for you and your energy. So it's like, you get to a point where it's like, why waste all that? Like, it is what it is. You go live your life. No ill intentions towards you, but you're just, again, not going to eat at my table.
Yeah, it's like I said before. I don't dwell on the things, the people that have came in and out of my life. Like I said, everyone's came into my life for a reason or another. But once they're gone, I don't stop and think, wonder, or miss them. I just move on and I carry on with what.
Keep it moving.
Keep it moving, yeah, because that's what life is.
Yeah. All right, the next one is from Stevie Tice. She was on, it was last week's episode,
Yes.
Right? Talented
Check
artist.
out that episode.
Yeah,
check out that episode. She's awesome, very inspiring.
Yeah, she's very sweet. Her and I are friends on Facebook. Hi, Stevie. Great artwork. Check it out. So Stevie says, some people and experiences are shifted by their own hand, and sometimes the universe will force you out. Job, relationships, looking at it as continued experience or a fresh start is a lot easier emotionally. Once you let go and allow change, progression and growth happen. Nothing is scary. It's euphoric. Absolutely, Stevie.
Yes.
Again, this ties back into everything happens for a reason. If something isn't for you, I mean, kind of even pushing back, I would say to Deidre. She was in that career for 15 years. Sure, it was stable, reliable, all that stuff, but is it her true passion? So I think really in life, you're going to be pushed out of things that aren't for you so you can redirect and find what is for you.
Yep. And that's where growth happens. That's exactly
Absolutely.
where growth happens. And yes, it is scary. I will say that it is scary, but it's also exciting. It's kind of a excited scary.
But the best things, I think, are scary at first,
Yeah.
you know?
It's
'Cause
when you get comfortable, you should worry.
Exactly. When you're comfortable and stagnant, that is when you should say, is this for me? Do I need to do something different? And maybe it's fine, but, just saying.
Yeah. Just ride the wave.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Next one is from Shannon Shell Little. Leaving my ex, we had a house in the country where I prefer to live with a lifetime of stuff I worked for, swimming pool, trampoline, etc. for my kids, but he was controlling and abusive. I was truly afraid of him, and it was so scary getting out. I also had to move in to my parents for a while and lost the life and things I worked so hard for me and my children. I had to learn to stay strong through my fear and felt with a lot of threats, stalking, and my car. The only thing I was able to take with me, along with my kids and our clothes being smashed with a hammer, had to go through a lot of court and felt so badly to change my kids' whole life like I did something wrong. Learning to endure through the fear and keep my composure and stand my ground was hard. In 7 years, I moved from my parents to an apartment and now back in a house and have rebuilt a lot of what I lost. I'm still working to get a house back in the country where I want to be, but I've come a long way. My kids now realize what kind of a man he is, seeing how he treats his current girlfriend, and have told me they are so happy I left even though they were hurt. It took time, but now they understand, and that was the hardest part. I also learned that material things don't mean shit if you can't have a life having it. I had to learn what I even enjoyed doing with life because I lived for years only thinking of what I needed to do to avoid abuse. I like who I am today and have traveled, went to lots of concerts, and learned to do things for myself because I want to. Eventually, I will be living where I want to be and have a life to go along with it. It's hard and takes time. But it's so much better having things you want when you have a life to go along with it. I also want to say to anyone that is in that type of situation, you can get out. I know it can seem impossible, but that's exactly what abusers want you to think and will manipulate you in any way to keep you thinking that. No one deserves to live like that, and no one can make you have to. Stay strong, make the move. There is a better life waiting for you. Good job for you for getting out. That
Absolutely.
is
And to circle back on what she said, I mean, if you've listened to the one of the first episodes, I'd mentioned, my abuse previously. Again, what she said, your abusers, they want you to think you can't get out, but you can. You can, you can. I did, Shanna did, so many people have. Is it easy? Fuck no. Is it hard? Yes. Yes. Are you going to be like biting your nails down to the skin, they're bleeding, you're a nervous wreck, anxiety through the roof? Absolutely. But you can change it, and your life is worth it. You're worth it.
And another thing too, like I know that she mentioned her kids and they hurt the kids and all that, but here's the scary part. Here's what's scarier, and people don't realize this. I've seen this happen with friends of mine, is like your kids are learning, and this is coming from somebody that doesn't have kids, but I've seen it happen where your kids are learning that this is what love is. So your partner abusing you, beating you, cheating on you, letting you down, making you cry, verbally or physically, whatever the case may be, abusing you, they're learning that that's what love is. So what do you think they're going to do when they grow up? They're going to put up with that kind of stuff, or they're going to be the ones dishing it out. Who knows? And that's not the kind of environment you want to raise your kids around, that they're going to think that's what love is, just for the sake of staying with the mom or the dad. Like that to me is it's scary when people say they stay together for the kids. It's not good. That's you're teaching them the wrong type of love. But Shannon, congratulations to you for getting out, and
proud of you.
Yeah.
Nailing it.
Wishing you the very best with all of this, and thank you for sharing your story.
All right, our next one is from Wendy Bro. They say, when I left my abusive ex-husband, it was truly the hardest thing. He wouldn't let me take our son. I went from having my name on a 3-bedroom house to renting a room. I went to therapy groups, learned about self-care and mindfulness. I still feel so damaged that I can't have a healthy, intimate relationship after 8 years. Oh, Wendy. Well, first off, I mean, again, a little bit of a trend here. I'm so happy you were able to get away from your ex, though. Just keep building on yourself, and just remember, not everybody is him. And it's easy to get caught in, a lot of people, especially now always say, oh, the dating sucks. There's not good ones out there. There are. Are you going to have to go through some shit bags to find the good one? Sure. We all do. But I hope you can find a way just to realize you are worth it. You'll find somebody good. That way you can have that healthy, intimate relationship. You'll get there. I mean,
definitely. And now you know what to look for, what you don't
absolutely.
want, but
what you won't tolerate. Never, and just like, never settle. What you want, especially with your past, what you've been through, you have a right to set your expectations.
One
And
of
if somebody doesn't meet it, then they're not for you.
yeah. Yeah, and you will find someone that values you and loves you, and
Honestly, always keep in mind too, not everybody's perfect.
no, for
So
sure.
that's why I'm saying don't be overly nitpicky, but with your super tight, with your expectations, they should meet them.
Yeah, we all have our flaws, but it's the major things you got to look out for.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't want someone that that's abusive or shows those signs of
Absolutely.
it. One of the themes I'm noticing here on these is that it's material things that happen to kind of hold us or scare us. What does that say about not people but society in general? Like what we're taught that like if you feel like you're living the American dream, you're like, I don't want to lose all this. But if you really think about it, sometimes you do have to lose those things that it's like it's almost like dead weight that's holding you on, holding on to you and damaging you further by staying in these relationships for these reasons. So sometimes you do have to drop that dead weight, and it may seem like you're setting yourself back a couple steps, or maybe sometimes people feel like they're really like starting from scratch, but you're not. What you're going to do is you're going to rebuild, and you're going to be 100 steps forward from where you were before you lost those things within time. With a little bit of patience and a little bit of hard work and you just getting through it, you will get there, and you're going to be thankful. You're going to look back and you're going to be like, wow, like imagine if I was still in that same situation right now, still putting up with it for another 10 years. Like that's a scarier thought, I think, than just making the leap and losing, just dropping that dead weight that's holding on to you. Because material shit, you're going to be able to replace, whether that's a house, a car, whatever the case may be. I've learned over time that money doesn't mean shit. It does, unfortunately, because you got to pay bills and whatnot. But it really, at the end of the day, if that's what's keeping you in a bad relationship or making you depressed and whatnot, you really need to like step back and kind of look and be like, this stuff's not worth it.
All right. So here's an email that Cody received from your buddy, right? John Wold?
Yep.
Yeah. He says, hey, Cody, I haven't gone through losing everything stable myself, thankfully, but I've watched it happen to way too many people, especially in marriages that were clearly crumbling. The pattern I see most, couples who are unhappy resent each other, fight constantly and cheat, but keep the happy family facade in public. Reasons vary: kids, pride, we can't be the ones who failed, identity wrapped up in being married, fear of what family friends will say, finances, divorce is expensive and scary, true, or just not wanting to be alone. They'd rather be miserable together than face the unknown. I've seen pride and shame play huge roles. Admitting it's over feels like personal failure after years invested. And the for the kids excuse we were just talking about is common. But honestly, kids pick up the tension or resentment even if no yelling happens. Very true. I know I felt it between my parents when I was younger, about a year before they divorced, and they never once fought in front of us. Studies show prolonged exposure to unhappy, conflicted homes often leads to more anxiety, depression, or kids learning that toxic dynamics are normal.
Oh, yeah. That's what we were talking about.
Exactly. See, sometimes worse long term than a respectful split with good co parenting. The loss usually isn't sudden, it's a slow buildup people ignore way too long. They hold on longer than they should because change feels scarier than misery they know. The hardest emotion from what I've observed is a mix of grief, the dream, and shame. How did I let this happen? And flares too at the partner or at themselves for staying. When they finally rebuild, the first part of identity seems to be independence, figuring out who they are solo, not as half a couple. The very first step I've seen, one brutally honest conversation, this isn't working and I'm done pretending, or going to therapy alone to get clarity. What do they stop chasing? The fantasy that'll magically fix itself if they just endure. Support that helps most. Friends who don't judge or fix, just listen, and a therapist who helps unlock patterns without blame. Starting over forces boundaries they've dodged, like no more faking for the holidays or tolerating disrespect. To someone in the middle of losing everything, if you're both miserable and neither is willing to do real work, therapy, effort, change, staying isn't protecting anyone. It's prolonging pain for you, your partner, and especially kids who absorb it all. Rip the Band-Aid. The short-term hell is often better than decades of resentment. Reach out, don't isolate. Mistakes to avoid. Don't stay just to avoid short-term pain or for the kids without considering the modeling you're doing. And don't rush into something new to fill the void. Sit with the emptiness first. I love that. What keeps people going when pointless? Sometimes rock bottom. Realizing misery isn't required. I've watched folks come out the other side way happier, more authentic, and better boundaries in real partnerships. Thanks for this prompt. It highlights why I set such clear lines in my own relationship. Your show is doing important work. John,
Thank you, John. Yeah, John had some really wise things here, man. I always love hearing from him because he comes in with a lot of good advice, knowledge, and a good perspective, and I love that. Like, it's funny, like we were just talking about a lot of these things up above earlier with the comments that we were responding to, and here he comes in with boom, like, same stuff. I love it. But yeah, that's, ripping off the Band-Aid that's huge, and I'll talk more about that with my personal when I get there. But that's 100% true. It's like you don't want to teach that this is what is normal or this is what love is just for the sake of, whether that be because of the house or because you don't want the kids to have different parents. Like, I've seen co-parenting done right where the parents get along. They could be in the same room together for those special moments where you just have to, like, if it's a graduation, you're not going to have a separate graduation for your kid. You're going to both be there. You just have to learn to figure it out. But
being able to spend holidays together,
Yeah.
even maybe even vacations for the kids. I think it's great when you can have that co-parenting relationship.
The next one's from my buddy. Shout out to Ruben, the meat man, Talsma. I met Ruben in Colorado when we were on tour. He'd been a supporter of the band for a while, and he ended up driving out there and brought some friends with him and saw us in Denver in 2024 and got to meet him. So I did tell him that I want him on the show because he's got a lot of interesting stories that he wants to talk about. So you will likely see Ruben here in an episode sometime in the near future, so he can hear from him. And I did tell him, but we may be playing in Denver this coming tour that we're doing in July. So it's one of the stops that we may be making, but it'd be awesome to catch up with him, hopefully if we're out that way. So Ruben says, I have completely lost everything that I have owned and been reduced to nothing but a bag of clothes and my dog about 6 times. For a variety of reasons, each time depending on what point in my life I was at. Some were sudden and unexpected, and some I saw coming and just couldn't afford the time or the money to fix the situation. In terms of being able to hold things together, I've never really been good at that. I do, however, stay in relationships longer than I should and have a tendency to ignore the red flags. Me too. Clearly, I don't really grieve. I don't really grieve much for the materialistic loss. I do, however, grieve and regret losing the memories. Letterman jacket, yearbooks, pictures, mementos. As far as starting over, it really depends on where I ended up as to how I rebuilt and moved on. I've lived in Portland, Oregon, Sacramento, California, Denver, Colorado, Phoenix, Arizona, San Diego, Chicago, Little Rock, Hot Springs, Fayetteville, Colorado Springs, Anchorage, Waikiki, Leesburg, Florida, Pensacola.
That's cool.
That is cool. I love it. He's been all over the board. I have always just been me. I didn't have to rebuild myself as far as who I was as a person. I've overcome addiction and psychotic women. I've had a lot of psychotic women in my life. Crazy relatives, maniacal bosses, and I use the chaos to see the humor in everyday life, which for some reason seems really chaotic around me. I started doing stand-up comedy as kind of an outlet for the craziness that I see on a daily basis because I sell frozen meat door to door, and I have been for 30 years. Things to avoid when you are trying to rebuild your life. Number 1, women. Yes. As fun as it can be, women are always a problem of everything. They distract us. I'm sorry, women do distract us from getting our goals done. I'm just being honest.
As someone that works in healthcare that's female dominated, and I'm not trying to discredit women, but Jesus, I get it.
Yeah, women can be a real distractor for us men from getting our stuff done. Like,
they can be a lot.
They can be needy. They can be like, all my focus is I got to do this for the girlfriend. I got to do that. Or if I'm trying to get laid or whatever. Right. Like, it's just a big distraction from us getting our goals done. And And unfortunately, that happens to too many men. But he mentioned number one, women. Number two, drugs and alcohol, 100%. That's unfortunately a big part of distraction for a lot of people. And some people don't even realize it. They don't think they have an issue, but that's their own business. Number three is women again. Very true. Number four, negative motherfuckers. We were just talking about that. Negative energy. Negative energy. And number five, edit your group.
You gotta drop people.
Yeah. So I agree with all of that stuff. And I love that he's used like his experiences and whatnot to do something positive with it. So he's doing stand-up comedy and he's taking what he's gone through or whatever. And now he's making other people laugh and he's bringing attention to the stuff that he's been through. But also he's found a way to entertain people and make other people laugh, but also maybe vent. I think with comedy, you're venting in a sense and you're getting it off your chest and you're finding humor, but at the same time you're putting smiles on other people's faces and creating positive thing out of something negative. I love that.
Does he post his comedy? I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, he's got a YouTube video. I was able to check out one of the videos. He's good. He's hilarious. I like his stuff. So yeah, I will do that. So hopefully, Ruben, I will get to see you this summer in Colorado when we're down there, if we make it down. Really nice guy, and thank you for bringing the people you brought out with you and they bought merch and everything. So that was a fun show too in Denver, I gotta say. It's a fun show.
Denver's fun.
It was downtown Denver. It was a little scary downtown. There was some craziness. It looked worse than Portland.
Right.
It looked worse than Portland. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I lived in Denver, suburbs of Denver, for about 6 years before I moved back to Oregon. There's a side, if you go a little too far, that's a little
Yeah, I believe it.
I'm gonna leave it at that.
Next one is on coming in from X Twitter, Rebecca Love Schneet. Good question. I'm still rebuilding after my life partner of 25 years died of lung cancer last August. I'm so sorry to hear that, Rebecca. I can't imagine I've said this before. I can't imagine losing a significant other. Obviously, losing someone, they're still alive, whatever, but losing them and then passing away, that I just can't imagine. That's got to be really, really hard, especially 25 years of being in their life. I guess you just do it. Or you just do. It's a human nature to lose and keep going. Maybe call it instinct. Of course, that's just my opinion. Have a lovely day, Cody. Thank you so much, Rebecca. Thank you for sharing, and I hope things are going good for you right now in your life, and that thank you for being a part of my life in one shape or form, fashion. That's very thankful for that. The next one is from TikTok, and this person's name is The Mind of a Nerd. One day at a time, find a creative outlet for your pain. Singing helps for me. I love that. Yes.
Don't keep it bottled up.
All of my lyrics are from personal experience within my life, something I dealt with or something I observed. Most of it is from what I've observed or thought about or things like that. So singing definitely helps, but also the writing part of it, also the melodies that it's your soul almost crying out in a melody or screaming out the way you compose the stuff. It definitely helps, and every time you perform it, that's just you reliving it kind of in a way if you're you put yourself in that mindset when you're performing. So I'll leave it to you now. You'll be the first one to share your personal on this. If you want me to scroll back up to the question.
Oh, how do you rebuild after losing everything you want was stable? Well, I think just going back to, what a lot of people, that have provided input, is just doing it. I mean, just finding an outlet, therapy. I mean, again, not to be a broken record for me, but, I was in an abusive marriage for 5 years, married for 6, because Colorado wouldn't let me get a fucking divorce. Anyway, that's a whole long story, but it happened and I'm free, so that's amazing. But I mean, the loss, was it sudden? It was one of those things where, so with my marriage, we married fast, so of course there's always that. Was there red flags? Obviously. I was young and dumb. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, we did get married after a month. So it's like with anything, we didn't really know each other. And so it's just, you're just so like in love, just infatuation. It wasn't until he ripped me from everything and we moved to Colorado, which I'm grateful to have been in Colorado, because then I never would have met my best friend, Amanda. I love you. And a lot of great friends that I've made there. But he had me away from family, friends, everything that I knew. And then that's when like the abuse really started. With him, he was mainly verbally abusive. He was an alcoholic for sure. and obviously difficult, but it wasn't until and I witnessed a problem too. And I'm not an angel here too. I was a big drinker as well. And so that's kind of something we had in common. We liked breweries, we liked drinking, we would get drunk, like it wasn't anything. And then it was once we were in Colorado, I noticed like this is a problem. Like this isn't just us, having a good time. Like maybe we both have a problem, but he definitely did, because he would get violent. So what was it, our second anniversary? So Colorado summer, our anniversary was in August. We were by the pool at our apartment complex. We went and got some summer shandies, because summer shandy, a good pool beer, right? Sitting there, we drank like a 12 6-pack or whatever, 12-pack. And then in the apartment complex that we lived in, is set up, like a lot of cities have them where there's businesses underneath. And so they had a brewery there, so on site. So we went there. And then that's when it really clicked for me, where it's like, I never knew when the angry, abusive guy was going to come out. It could have been within one beer. It could have been 5, 10, but there was no stopping him. So it would go from, you're an amazing wife, you're the best thing that's ever happened to me. And then whenever that demon would take over, I swear to shit, if you've ever seen like a narcissistic person's eyeballs, when they hit ultimate evil mode, their eyes change. His eyes would turn all black, I swear to God. And it was just anger. That's what was scary, because then he was after me. And so then it would switch to, fuck you, you're a whore, you're a slut, you're fucking everybody. And it's like, how I can't even talk to people without you losing your mind. So it's like, I just, and he traveled, I don't want to go into too much detail, but he traveled for work in the oil industry. And so it's like, I would just stay at home. Like I just became a shell of myself. And yeah, so that second anniversary, anyway, I'm kind of jumping around. Day drinking all day. We're walking home and it's like, 1 a.m. So it's pitch black out, but we live in like I just said, apartment complex that's set up kind of like a little mini town. So there's lights everywhere. There's benches. There's little park areas, and no cars around. And so we're walking back to our apartment. He doesn't like how I cross the street, and so he grabbed my head and shoved his knee right into my face.
Jesus.
And so I'm wearing like a white tank top, and I'm drunk. Don't get me wrong, like drinking all day. And it's just like, what the fuck just happened? What the fuck just happened? Because we've been in drunk fights before. And again, I'm not perfect either. Throwing shit, breaking shit, just because you're so drunk. Because I'm the kind of person, like, don't disrespect me. And then if I'm in a blacked out drunker, like, I'm gonna protect myself, So there were times that, we'd wake up and there'd be just broken bottles everywhere or broken things because we've gotten into a fight, but it was never physical until that point. And that's when I'm looking down, I'm bleeding, like my nose, everything's just bloody. My tank top's bloody. And I'm just like, what the fuck just happened? He's screaming at me. I just remember that instance. And then just getting up to the apartment and going to bed. I probably shouldn't have. I'm pretty sure I had a concussion, honestly. And I just remember like the pain that I had in like the front of my forehead for weeks, that pressure, like weird pain. But from then on, I think put me into like a weird survival mode where I was like, I gotta fucking find my way out. Because again, going into this, it was such a quick, we got married so quick. Everybody was not everybody was against us, but I had so many people against it. Like, you don't even know him. It's not going to work. It's going to fail. Especially like my coworkers at the time. You're a fucking idiot. You shouldn't do this. It's going to fail. So like there was an ego side of me that was like, I'm going to fucking make this work. I'm going to fucking make this work. So when that happened, I was like, what am I doing? I'm like, things have changed. I'm like, okay, so now I have to protect myself and start, because he was the breadwinner. I just had crappy little like office jobs. And back then we didn't make shit in the office. So we relied on his wages for sure because he made a lot of money. So it was just, how do I protect myself? How do I get out of this? Because then I kind of learned more and more as his drinking became worse and worse. And he had lots, and I'm not against guns. I do like guns myself. I don't have any, but I'm not against them. I'm a farm girl. Well, a country girl. Friends had farms. I grew up shooting with friends and stuff. Anyway, so he had guns. So then I got to a point where I feared what he could potentially do to me if I tried to leave, especially if he got himself in a drunken stupor. And so like, anyway, it kind of stems back to me just multiple times just crying like to my knees on the ground, just, God, please help me get out of here. Please help me get out of here. But I've always been the independent person. I don't want to ask anybody for help. So a few more years just went on. I was just a shell of myself. I mean, he would get drunk and just like punch shit, break shit, punch the walls, punch the fridge, brought a brand new TV, rip the remote in half. He would go through cell phones all the time because he would get drunk and be mad at me for whatever little reason he was mad at me. He'd break his cell phones, rip them in half, stomp them, throw them. Like, it was just chaos. It was chaos. It was scary, scary chaos. But anyway, the stars aligned one day and he got a job out of state. And so we were set to move. And luckily, like, our lease on our apartment was coming to an end. So we only had a couple weeks to get out. And so we were going to move everything to the state we were moving to. And he was already there. So he was gone. And it was just like everything just aligned. I had a friend who just had gotten a townhome and had a room. And she said, dude, move in with me. Just move in with me. And I did. I said, fuck it. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I'm scared for myself. I don't like who I am. I'm not my normal self, the bubbly, happy Mariah. So I moved in with my friend. This might be embarrassing. I don't care. I will tell anybody the story. I burned it all to the ground. I don't give a shit. I fucking filed bankruptcy. All of our vehicles, all of that shit went back on him. Fuck you. You deserve it. I had to do what was right for me to get back to where I needed to be. And that's the best thing I ever did, just to start over fresh. So here we are. Therapy. I spent about a year in Colorado after, and then I did move home, just back to Oregon, just to be closer to friends and family, and I kind of went down a dark path for a little bit, was drinking obviously a lot because I wasn't dealing with my emotions yet, or really, I don't think, addressing like the marriage, the divorce and stuff like that, and was doing a lot of blow. I was even doing blow before work, and and this is where I met my best friend, Amanda, because we worked hospice together. And I walked in and she just looked at me and she knew. She said, what the fuck, Mariah, are you doing? Because she knew she's like, you're high. And so she was like, go to your fucking office now. Go to my office. And she's like, you need to get your fucking shit together, bitch. What are you doing? Like, this is not you. This is not okay. And then so from then on, I think that's when I kind of was like, I need to get out of here because I'm creating even more bad habits coming out of a bad situation. I'm not helping myself. So I came home, and that's when I started therapy, finding myself more. Granted, the pandemic hit, and then I working at a winery, I mentioned on another episode, drinking a lot and stuff like that. So, I mean, I'm just saying you can get away, find your resources. There are people, there are friends. But in those moments when you really need people, remember who was there, remember who was by your side, and the fake friends that say they're there for you, but they're really not, especially when you're at your worst and you're crying in a corner. You can get through it, and that's what helped me get through it. Therapy, relying on friends, and just the mantras, and just keeping a list of my goals, journaling. Yeah. I could chat forever, but I don't want to get too into it because I'm sure everyone's like that.
No, I love that you were very open about that. That's it's not an easy thing to talk about, but like it's healthy to talk. It's healthy to talk it out and reflect, because then you can look back at where you're at now. And I'm very proud of who you are. You're a very strong woman.
I appreciate
very,
it.
very strong woman.
I'm proud of you. And you know what though? Like, and that's what I love about you. Even we've been together 4 years. You've really helped me to grow a lot.
We've helped each other.
Absolutely.
I think we've helped each other. Mm-hmm. So for me, with this, I would just say that I feel like I've had multiple reincarnations of myself. And I know that sounds really psychotic and really weird, but I've rebuilt myself, and I feel like there's different chapters of my life that I've gone through. And it always seems to happen roughly around breakups, and maybe I purposely self-sabotage relationships because I feel it's not always just me. It obviously takes two to destroy a relationship, but I feel like I always purposely burnt them down by doing reckless, stupid shit. And a lot of that had to do with my my bad habits and addiction, drinking and partying, and putting different priorities over what at the time should have been my relationships that should have mattered to keep. But for me, like the one that comes to this question that comes to mind, the most recent was when my last relationship fell apart. It was very hard for me because I felt like I let a lot of myself go. I relied too much on my ex to take care of things. And so she would handle the bills. I obviously would we went in and halved on everything, but I would let her take care of the bills. I would let her cook, do all the cooking. I would let her do all the cleaning. I would let her do pretty much everything, like handle all the things that I should have managed myself, or I should have at least done half of that myself. So that way, if she up and left, I would not be left like, how do I do this? What do I do? So that was a lesson learned from that. But for me, I feel like with not just that relationship, but previous relationship as well, with the breakup, it's always, like you said, burn things to the ground, like where I go in complete chaos. For me, like what I mean by that is I started partying very hard. I wasn't caring about, my work. I wasn't caring about my band. I wasn't caring about anything really. I was, just focused on drowning out my my pain that I was going through, sadness and depression, and just blaming everyone but myself for, where I was at in life. And so I had to go through a phase of ugliness and chaos and complete just shit show is what I call it, before I was like, okay, I got to get it together. I cannot let this other person be the reason why I'm going to go downhill, lose everything that I have, because I still have my house. I still have my job. I still have a band that I can rebuild. I still have, my friends that, I still have my family. I still have everything that I need to get through. So I feel like I had to go through chaos and then just get that out of my system. And then I had to put myself in pause mode and be like, okay, think of what I just lost. Was it a huge loss, really? And then when I reflect on all the bad things that happened in that relationship, whether they're by my own fault or both of our faults or whatever, and then I thought about what the possibilities of what could be, made me excited and motivated me. That's what made me think, okay, I already know what that was like, and I know how horrible that was to be in that relationship, how horrible everything that we had gone through between what we had done to each other. What can I look forward to now? What are the possibilities? I can find the love of my life. I can be I can be happy with somebody else. I can start from scratch with a new relationship where there isn't the anger, the jealousy, the hatred, the whatever the case may be, whatever emotions the relationships bring upon us. And that got me excited. That motivated me, because now I know what I don't want and what I do want. And so that helped me move it forward. And then, slowly but surely, I got into dating and seeing people, and then seeing what I didn't like and what I did like. And then eventually we ended up getting together. But I had to get myself stable first before I actually started the dating part, because I was single for almost a year. And I had to figure it out. And then from there, a couple of years later, I got sober on my own, because I was tired of feeling like crap and just tired of the addiction and tired of just the repeat of drinking and partying was so predictable. I knew exactly what the outcomes were going to be. Actually, I didn't know what it was going to be, but I knew it was going to be chaos. I knew it was going to be always not good things and feeling like shit. And it ate and took so much away from me in my life that I have no regrets. But now it's time to, all right, get it together, because you're about to be in your fucking prime. 40s. I'm going to be 40 in May. And I want to live my best years. My best is yet to come. And since I made the changes, man, my life has been so good. I wake up happy. I'm up early at like 4:30 in the morning, working out. I'm handling business and taking care of stuff at the house, cooking for us, bothering and annoying you what you want for dinner, going to the grocery store because you don't like doing that kind of stuff. And I appreciate you. I appreciate my friendships. I appreciate my jobs.
Well, you definitely didn't get with me for my cooking ability.
No, you're baking. You're a baker. You help get me in my fluff mode in the wintertime, but then I shut it off as we get closer to spring and all that. So, did I hold on to things longer than I should have? Oh, hell yes. And I think for me, what it is I can't break up with people. The one time I broke up with someone, they chased after me with a bat and they tried killing me, I think. That's why I can't. They're going to hurt me. What's going to happen? Lorena Bob at me or something. But I have a hard time. I don't like hurting people's feelings. I really don't. I don't like, and I hate when people cry. When people cry, it bugs me. That's
especially when it's from you.
Yeah, especially when it's caused by me. Because at the end of the day, I may fuck up and I maybe do some stupid shit, but it's never intentional to hurt somebody out of me being a bad person. I'm a human being. I make mistakes. I say stupid things. I do stupid things. And even now that I'm sober, I'm still going to say stupid things. I'm still going to do stupid things. I'm going to fuck up. It happens. It's a part of being human, and it's something that I recognize. And I'll never be perfect. I know that, and I don't act like it.
Why would you want to be perfect?
The falls and the trips are where you learn. If you don't fall and trip and you don't reflect and learn from it, then fucking that fall was for nothing. Like, you know what I mean? What part of your identity did you have to rebuild first? I think I had to figure out that I've always been a very independent person, and I lost myself in the relationship where I wasn't so independent. I was always so reliant on her taking care of everything because she was a very nurturing person. And so I allowed that and I got comfortable with that. So it blindsided me when I had to be independent again. But prior to that, I was very independent. I always took care of business, and I've always been kind of a loner in a sense, even in my younger years. I've always been a go-getter and a loner. Like I like to, because I feel like when I put my trust in other people, I always get let down because my expectations are very high, and I don't like waiting around for something to happen. And when it does happen, a lot of times it doesn't come out the way that I wanted it or I explained it. Yeah. So that to me has made me and motivated me to stay very independent. Let's see. What kind of support helped me the most? For me, what helped me the most was just being around friends, being around people. Making music I had to find my hobbies again. I had taken a break for so long from my band because of just wanting to party all the time. And that I lost so much through my drinking and partying that who knows where the band would be right now, but everything happens for a reason. So I'm glad that it's back and it's in fucking overdrive right now. We're killing it. So what mistakes should others avoid when rebuilding? Well, I would say don't follow my steps in burning everything down in chaos, because I mean, you can make matters worse for yourself. I'm very lucky that I didn't. Who knows? I could have been dead. I could have been in jail. I could have been, who knows, when you make bad decisions like that. So I would say take a break. And like John said, take a breather, and the loneliness, you can learn from that, and you can don't rush into something real quick. Alone, yes. Be okay with being alone. Let's see. What helped you keep going when it felt pointless? What helped me keep going was that I don't give up. That's not who I've ever been. That's not who I want to be remembered as. When I die, people are going to say, and they're going to know for a fact, that Cody Perez always gave it his all, full volume. I don't half-ass anything. It's all or nothing. And that's all you'll ever get from me. I'm a very hard worker, and I don't give up. I'm very stubborn, and it's part of the Taurus in me. Call it stubbornness, whatever. I call it determination. Triple Taurus there. What emotion hit me the hardest, man? Everything from fear, anger, shame, grief, all those things. I think those are all perfectly normal to feel when you're hit with something out of nowhere. But like I said earlier, what helps when things like this happen is reflecting back on those moments where you have been in a situation that blindsided you, and it felt like complete chaos, and it felt like complete hopelessness, but you were able to overcome it. Now, it's scary because you don't know what you don't know, and so it's easy for you to be like, well, what am I supposed to do? Like, I'm just going to give up. No, you got to look back at those moments and be like, you know what? Back then, when I went through that, I thought I was feeling exactly like this. I didn't know what was going to happen. And look, it ended up working itself out in the end, and I came out better and stronger. So you just kind of have to remind yourself of that. And for me, it's always helped to just reflect on those really hard moments in life that have come across my way. And it just reminds me that, hey, it's going to be okay. There's going to be unknowns. There's going to be scariness. There's going to be learning. But like I said before, that's part of the growth, and that's the exciting part. And for anyone out there that is in a relationship that feels like, the time together has expired, I would say don't waste your time. Just like John said, rip off the Band-Aid. Yeah. Let it happen, because if you know it's done and you're holding it together for materialistic things, or in my case, it's like I don't want to hurt somebody, or I also got used to, like, I didn't want to change things up, and I didn't want to deal with change. It's you're avoiding the inevitable, and it's just only going to hurt much worse later. If you are reflecting and you know that it's up and it's time, just do it now, because it's going to happen. Fate has a way of things have a way of working themselves out in a way where it's going to happen regardless if you try to avoid it or not. Delaying it's not going to do you any good. Exactly. So yeah. So with all of that said, this was a great question. I want to thank everybody that participated in this. You guys are all awesome, and please continue to do that. It makes for great conversation. I love hearing from you guys. It inspires me. It inspires Mariah. Yeah. Like hearing your guys' stories and hearing your guys' advice. And your triumphs, man. I love reading the triumphs when people have good stories and they've overcome these things, man. It's proof that we will overcome and we will. Yeah. And so my guest this week is going to be a good friend of mine that I had not talked to, I'm not kidding you, in like over 11, 12 plus years. He's actually the original guitar player that was the first guitar player in American Overdose. I had a previous band with him called In Vain. His name is Jeremy. I'm very excited about us talking together because I'm very proud of who Jeremy has become. Jeremy, him and I partied a lot and did a lot of crazy things. He was one of the first people that I ever started a band with. And we went through a lot of craziness together and seen the worst of each other. And to see that he is now sober and he's a family man and he's got his own business and he's a great musician, still doing music and all that, man, it's very inspiring. And it's going to be a great story for you guys to check out. So stay tuned for segment 2 with my guest, Jeremy. Today, I have a very special guest that I have known for a very, very long time, and we have a lot of history. This guy is known by the name of Jeremy Grogan, former guitar player, actually first former guitar player of American Overdose and former guitar player of my first band that I ever started. Welcome, Jeremy, and let's get right into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go from there, man.
Yeah, my name is Jeremy, and as Cody said, I'm first former member of In Vain and first former guitar player for American Overdose, and I have been in kind of a recovery mode for the last 20 years. I'm sure we can get into some of the reasons why I had left and didn't come back, but I'm just in a completely different space these days, and I'm really excited to see what you're doing, Cody.
I love that, man. Honestly, like it's been so refreshing, and you're actually one of the people that I looked at when I was going through my, wanting to get sober and recover, and seeing that you had done it. Just because we had that history of, there's many times that me and you we'd be drinking early in the morning and writing music and just what we call raging. And it motivated me seeing that, someone that was at my level of doing that could make a positive change for themselves. And I have mad respect for that. And I applaud you for that. Let's go ahead and start talking about, like, what was it that first got you to be like, all right, enough's enough. I'm sick of this. Because I know everyone has a different story of what it takes. Some people have to hit a road. Some people like where they're just like, what if I don't turn it now around, then it's dead end, and this is the end for me. Was there something that just hit you like in the face and said, you need to do this now? Or what was your awakening moment that kind of just made you realize that you needed to make the change?
Well, so actually initially it wasn't even that I wanted to. I felt like let's go back to 2006. So 2006, I had left the National Guard, and I think we were hanging out just before that, right?
2005, yeah.
And I was married. And then I had that house, that manufactured house that we kind of destroyed that car. Remember the car we destroyed in the
Dude, I was just telling someone about that car. I can't believe that happened.
So, but let's go to that time period. So what happened at that time period, I had attempted sobriety for the first time, because I didn't actually, this might seem ignorant, but I knew drugs were a problem, and I had overcome that from like my younger age of like 17. But then I, joined the military, and the drinking's part of the culture. And so we find ourselves in 2006 in the band, and I thought maybe I'll just stop for a year or something. And it was very difficult. But I think somewhere in there when I was still married, I had done a year, and then I could not wait till it pick it right back up. Well, then after.
So did you say, I'm going to do a year and see if I can do it, and then I'm going to resume? Or did you say, I'm going to try to just quit?
No, I did. I don't know how I did it the first time. And I knew you around the same time. So I don't know how we were in a band when I didn't drink.
Oh, I remember, but I guess I'm curious did you say I'm going to set a year out and then I'm going to drink? Or did you say I'm going to go as long as I can, or I just want to quit?
No,
and then
after 1 year. And I think what I was trying to do is I was trying to prove to my family and myself that I didn't have an alcohol problem. And so I thought if I could just get a year, then I could just prove, hey, I don't have a problem. And then I did it, right? I actually kind of forgot about that until we just started talking about it.
Yeah, because I remember when you were sober at that point, because there was a time when I remember that you had cleaned it up.
Yeah, it was probably super boring. Oh my gosh, I didn't go anywhere. I didn't do anything. It was hard to play guitar because I practiced most of the time, at least not wasted, but at least a little bit buzzed.
Yeah.
And so that affects your learning, right? When you the environment that you learn in is the environment that you perform in, which is one of the reasons why I couldn't seem to be sober for any of our shows when I was trying. But let's just go to that time period. So it actually took about 4 years from the time that I initially said, hey, I need to do something about this till I actually made a decision to be sober. But it was a journey. Like itself was its own journey, because I even went to inpatient rehab at Kaiser Permanente. You probably remember that as well, because I was out for like a month or so and just picking up stuff. And so that was the beginning, right?
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be until I had left Salem. And remember, I went to my mom's. I just left Salem like the summer of 2010 or something like that. And I was actually planning to come back. I was just going to spend the summer there and get sober. And then what happened is, in order for me to stay at my mom's, my stepdad had said that I needed to go to like AA meetings and stuff. And so I started doing that. And then just kind of being around the folks that were in those meetings, the anonymous stuff, I just was living kind of a different lifestyle. It just definitely wasn't what I really wanted to do, but I just felt like I kind of had to do that.
What do you mean? What do you mean living a different lifestyle?
Well, because Coquille is where I ended up. And, I've got no metal crowd, no friend, none of the people in that small rural area, like was 32, somewhere between 28 and 32 during that time. And I was like one of the youngest people there, because everyone was like in the 50s and 60s. And so I just didn't have people to connect with. And so there was like this strong desire to eventually like go back. But there really wasn't anything for me to go back to that wouldn't end up being the way that it was before. Right.
Yeah.
And so I just remember initially, kind of bring it back to Salem before I had left, my life just started kind of going into chaos, and I had been unemployed as well. And then remember, I had that studio in that downtown area, and things were just getting super chaotic, and I was just a complete mess. Apparently I was even saying things that were borderline suicidal, but I don't even remember saying them on Facebook. And so my mom was the one that invited me to come out, and she was just saying, hey, why don't you step away from that for a period of time.
It was a dark period for sure, because I do remember, I mean, I was drowning myself in a bunch of chaos myself, but I just remember even myself, I was like, oh, things are not looking good right now. And I do remember that.
Hey, I want to clear one thing up. There was a time that I was vacuuming that studio upstairs, and you thought I was on meth, and I told you I was on Adderall. I was actually on Adderall.
Were you? You remember that?
I remember that, dude, because I was so bummed, because I like was telling the truth. And you wouldn't believe me. But why would you?
Well, you know what it was, dude? It was, and I don't want to name names on here, like, and drag anybody down, but there was someone that was around that camp of ours that was doing meth. And I thought that maybe he had given you some. And so I was like, I've never seen him like it was just weird, because I've seen you drinking, and you're definitely a person that was able to, like, you could trick me. You could lie to me and tell me you weren't drunk and you were probably wasted. And I would believe you, because you were able to function, like,
I was able to do that. Yep.
But when I saw you that one time, like, I was like, okay, this is weird. Like, he's like, because you were all over the place. But now seeing people that take Adderall, like that are prescribed Adderall, I know now what the effects can be if you don't have the right dosage or the right type. And it can be a lot like what people are like when they're on meth, like where you're just like cracked out. So for example, my girlfriend, she's got ADHD really bad, and she was prescribed Adderall, and they had to try 3 or 4 different types of Adderall to give to her. And the first batch that they gave her to try out was like, she said it was like cocaine. Like she hated it. It made her heart jump, and she was like super paranoid, and just, it was over the top. So she had to go through a couple different dosages. So now that has happened, I've experienced that, I can see like that. Yeah, that's probably the case. And I believe you.
Well, I've been waiting 15 years to tell you that. Just so you know.
And just to clarify to the listeners, this is the first time that you and I have talked since the last time I talked to you, like actually talked to you on the phone or in person or whatever, like verbally, or not on social media, was we played a Halloween show, or we tried to play a Halloween show at the Liberty Spirit when you came back for a brief period. Remember, you came back?
Very brief.
Yeah, you came back. I think you had returned to Salem, but then you came back for like maybe less than a month, or maybe even just a couple of days, and then you went back. But you remembered the songs, and so we're like, all right, well, let's get you on stage with us, and we played the Liberty Spirit. And
yeah, that was cool. I actually I connect. I can't remember the name of the guitar player.
Danny. Freeman. You were
yeah.
It was
him
Freeman.
And I actually connected pretty well. Yep. And so we actually hung out a little bit that weekend, and it was just a weekend. I think I just came down.
You gave him your amp, I think, too, or you gave him your cab or something.
We talked. maybe later about it, but I did have this awakening later in life that was like full on life changing. And I can't remember if I had that before all that, but in my spiritual moment, the God of my understanding, my higher power really said, just give everything away that you had, except for I kept my Washburn. I still have that. And then enough stuff to make music, but really just there was a peeling away very early on from like what my life was. And it's nothing against you, Cody, and it was nothing against the other members of the band. It was like something in my life was taking a big turn and I was getting peeled away from everything that was kind of holding me down. And so that's why I never really returned back to Salem, because my journey went for a while. Now I do believe I could go back now because I'm like absolutely completely different person.
Yeah.
There's like nothing there that would pull me back into anything. My maturity has grown. I've just grown in every single possible way. But that was one of the things when I started seeing you on social media in the last few years, as I started to see a shift in you and people that know me, because dude, I've told people that I used to be in a band and they usually freak out because they know me now and they go, "You were in that band?" And I go, "Well, they've got a little budget now because back in the day we were doing face paint and bondage masks, but now you guys clearly, I'm super impressed with the quality of the brand American Overdose. Like American Overdose as a brand has gotten very mature and like it just looks real. It looks meaningful. And back in the day when we started this whole thing, it was an idea, right? And I was a part of the idea, but I never really got to grow into the whole maturity of it. But anyway, I just give you guys props for that stuff. But
that means a lot coming from you, because I always tell people that the broken flag that we have, the logo.
Yeah.
You created that, and we still use it to this day. People,
that's nuts.
You know how many people have tattooed that on themselves, dude? Like, so many people, like fans, have gotten that tattoo, and like they love it. So you created,
and you were
part of history.
Dude?
Yep.
I didn't even use any like super like awesome tech. I literally used Microsoft PowerPoint and like Microsoft Paint.
That is so awesome.
And I created, I mean, literally, I created it in Paint and PowerPoint. And I remember when I was doing that, I created the United States, and then I was like trying to break it apart, but I had to like make two files and erase half of one and half on the other. And then I brought the two files in and then just twisted them. And that's it. That's all that thing is.
That is so cool, dude. It's evolved. It's evolved, and you have no idea how much attention that gets people. Like when it draws them in. But we've gone through a bunch of different logos and whatnot, but that one is one that we've always kept in the camp and always just keep using it. And all of us actually got the tattoo of it. So it's funny that it started from you just doing that and you telling the history of that. Now, you said something very interesting that caught my interest, or caught my attention when you said that you had to peel away. That made a lot of sense to me, because I'm still doing that to this day with me getting sober. Is like I'm getting rid of things, people, like just things that remind me that I no longer am the person that I used to be.
Yeah.
Last summer, it was weird. Like I had these plates that reminded me of my past relationship and my partying and doing cocaine on those plates, as a matter of fact. So
wow.
it was a negative energy seeing those plates. And but my buddy's dad was giving me crap about using paper plates. He's like, "Why are you using paper plates? Why use paper plates?" And I think that the real truth is that I didn't want to use those plates because I didn't want to bring them out. They're in my shelves, but I didn't want to bring them out because they reminded me of bad times of when like I was going through this craziness. Because I went through a 5-6 year binge of nothing but partying. And I got rid of those plates. I got rid of a bunch of clothes that reminded me of what I used to wear when I used to go hang out with people that were doing bad things, drugging and partying and all that. And getting rid of that clothes, it felt like this negative energy was leaving my house. So, and like, I totally understand what you mean. Like you were peeling away those layers that you didn't need no more. And I'm sure what you meant by, if I'm listening and hearing you right, when you said that you could come back to Salem and you'd be fine, is that you probably found happiness, which is what I always tell people, is that nothing in the world makes me think that I should have a drink or go do drugs or even smoke a cigarette. I don't even do tobacco or anything like that, but nothing in the world makes me tempted to do that, because I know what's going to happen when I do that. And I know what my life is like not doing it, and how happy I am, and how I'm in a much better place, like in every aspect. Would you say that that is, kind of like what motivates you? Is like you kind of just self-reflect on what you have and what you're surrounded by and how you feel, or what drives Jeremy every single day to, not be tempted by all the temptations that are around?
Yeah, well, so first of all, that's a great question, and I think this will be good for your listeners to hear. So we'll just call it my recovery has broken into like a 15-year time period, right? As I sit here today, I have 3 years of continuous sobriety, but I've been in recovery attempting sobriety for over 15 years. And I've had two years, 3 years, 9 months, but I've always fallen back before 3 years ago. So like I said, I have 3 years continuous sobriety today, which is the different kind of sobriety than I've ever had. Initially, when I was trying to stay sober, I did find those moments, even early on, where nothing was tempting. And it was about enjoying, hey, my life is better now that I'm not drinking. And the motivator was to not drink so that I would, right? I don't drink because I don't want this. That's not what it is for me today. But at that time, in the older days, 2010 through maybe 17 or 18, it was about that. But then
Can you
I
clarify
came
what you
into
mean
it.
by that? You don't want what?
Well, it was about don'ts, right? It was, I don't do alcohol because I want this, or I don't it's more of an identity issue. So I want to broaden this part of the conversation into, for me, it's not about my life's better, so I don't want to drink. It's my life is actually better and I don't drink, right? But not because I don't drink, and it's an identity thing. So this happened in kind of phases. So I should probably go back to like maybe the 2017 or 18, right? So these are the time period where I've had a couple of relapses, but for the most part, I've had a few years in between these, right? I started focusing on identity and started learning about and discovering things about who I actually am, intrinsically as a human, that has nothing to do with whether or not I drink, right? But this was a learning process, and I'm part of a faith community that is building and uplifting and forgiving, and I had to experience a lot of forgiveness and patience and kindness, right? And that experience of the love of other people in the face of my relapsing constantly, right? I'm talking about like a faith community, a church group of people that doesn't ban me from coming, that doesn't say, oh, you screwed it up, it's too late, right?
Yeah.
In the face of me screwing it up so much that they would just not stop loving me. That actually shifted something for me that only that experience can shift. It's not a decision I made. It's just my experience that happened to me. And so by me kind of pushing against the wall and having that wall just not ever give in, and these people just loving me and forgiving me and just telling me that I'm okay over and over again for a period of time, started to shift it from me trying not to drink to me actually not needing to. Like not even because my life's good or not. Just the pull started to go away.
I love that.
But the story doesn't even finish there, because what would happen is eventually something would happen in my life that I wasn't prepared for. And the reason I would drink is not because I was a terrible person. It wasn't because I'm evil and I've got some inherent sin in me and I'm going to go be condemned to hell for eternity if I don't repent. It was this thing, and just based on life experiences, I didn't have what I needed to handle certain situations. So I was medicating. So my drinking in our days was partying it up, right? Well, later it was more medicating. I was not even doing it publicly. I was secretly drinking, but I was secretly drinking because I was hiding pain. I was hiding emotion because I didn't want to feel these things, right? And alcohol was the only thing that I knew for sure 100% was going to deal with that in that same moment, right?
I relate to that 100%. I know exactly what you mean.
And I don't say this very often to people like in actual recovery. There may be not actual. What I mean is people that are in new recovery, like new people just trying to get sober for the first time. But there was a time where I lost my train of thought there. Apologize for that. But the point is everything started to shift, and my identity started to be the issue. So who is Jeremy Grogan, right? And my identity at some point could not be I'm the guy who doesn't drink. That can't be who I am, right? There has to be more to who I am than I don't do something, right? So me not drinking can't be the thing everybody knows Jeremy for. I can't be that guy who was an American overdose who doesn't drink anymore. Like, you know what I'm saying?
No, I love that, because you know what? And sorry to interrupt you, but I know exactly what you mean. Alcohol was a huge part of my life and part of my, I guess, identity growing up, right? So I don't want it now that I'm now that I'm sober, I don't want it to define me and hold me by exactly that, where I'm the former drinker or the former partier, and alcohol is not like, it's something I avoid, and I don't want it to own any more of me. And is that kind of like what you mean? Like, you don't want it to be a part of what defines you? Like, is that kind of like what we're going with this? Because I feel that, I hear that, and that's kind of how I feel when I'm talking about not drinking, or that I don't drink, and people ask me about it. I don't want people to know me as, well, he just doesn't drink. Well, no, there's a lot more to me than that. That's just a part
Absolutely.
of a small little chapter in my life. You know what I mean? A part of my life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Cause it's one of those things that I kind of look at. It's like, I don't want people to think that that's all that I am. And you know how people that are, I'll just use this for an example. People that are vegans, you get told like a million times, hey, I don't eat meat, or I don't do this, I don't do that. And it's like, okay, we get it. You don't eat meat. No one wants to hear me talk about how I don't drink, or me preaching to them that I don't drink. So when I'm around people that are drinking, they ask me, does it bother you that I'm drinking? I'm like, I don't judge people that are drinking. Just because I had a problem with drinking doesn't mean everyone else does. I think a lot more people have issues that they don't realize, but that's not for me to judge or for me to call it out. That's on your own to do. Because the way I look at it is, if you want to, if you think you have an issue and you're questioning it, try quitting drinking. It's a lot harder. It's a lot harder to do than it is to say. And I often hear people say, if I wanted to, if I had a problem, I would stop, or I could stop if I wanted to. And then when they say that to me, it's funny, because when they say that to me, I'm like, okay, well, then stop. Well, I don't need to, because I don't do this, or I don't do that, or I'm not getting arrested, or they give all these like lists of things. I'm like, That's not how it starts though. Like, you can be an alcoholic and drinking at home, and you're not getting arrested, you're not getting DUIs, but you have an issue because your life is dependent on it, and because you're hiding emotions, like you were just mentioning, you're numbing some inside pain that you're feeling. So I don't like to preach to people at all. Like, I never tell them like, you should stop drinking or anything like that. But I get excited when someone starts talking to me about them being sober, or them wanting to get sober, and they start asking me for like what my journey has been like. I do get excited about talking to them.
Absolutely. And you know what? Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I thought about this, and so I don't remember exactly, I can't pinpoint exactly where I started to see a change in you, but I definitely noticed it was around the time period you guys put that music video out that had like the drunk dude, and he's like at a swing set or something, and he's like hitting his girlfriend, and by the end of the thing he realizes he's got like a heroin problem or something. Do you remember that? You know what video that is?
Yeah, that's the I Alone video. That was like in 2016. Things were going good then, a little bit, but when things got dark for me was 2 years later. We did a tour. We did a tour, and then we got back and we stopped playing music. Like, we took a break because we were going to write our third album, and we were like, all right, well, we've done a lot. We've been really busy, and we took a break. And that break, what that meant for me was, I don't have any responsibilities to the band, so I have all this free time on my hands. And then it was like, okay, I'm going to hang out with friends, hang out with my girlfriend at the time. And all we were doing literally was just partying, man, like nonstop. Like,
I thought that was like the beginning of you stopping all that. Okay. I didn't.
No, that was in the middle of like getting to the point of having issues and having problems. I was already drinking and partying a lot then at that point, but it wasn't really until 2 years later, it was about 2018. When we took a break from music, that I just got so depressed from not doing music, and that's the only thing I really knew how to do, that I just was like, all right, well, if I have all this free time, I'm going to party it up with friends. And that's all that if I was going to a concert, I had to worry about, okay, we're going to drink before. If I was going to a sporting event, we'd drink in before. Anything I was doing had to involve alcohol, and it just got out of hand. And once I got the band back together around 2022, that's when I was like, okay, I need to take this, be more careful about appreciating what I have, not taking it for granted. But I was still partying a lot, and I had gone through a mean breakup of my girlfriend of 7 years. A point in my life where I was just like depressed and hating myself, hating everyone, and just being super negative. Then I met my girlfriend that I have now, and she showed me love, and it opened up my eyes, and it's like, it made me realize like, hey, like, life's not that bad, dude. Like, why are you drinking? Why are you at this point? And I just got tired of feeling the same crap. Like, I didn't get no ultimatums. People always like, did you get an ultimatum? Or they ask like, did something happen? I'm like, no, nothing happened. What happened was I woke up one day and I was like, I'm tired of this same cycle that I've had since I was since I was 15 years old, the partying and waking up with a hangover, not knowing what you did the night before, doing embarrassing things, saying stupid things, burning bridges with friends, burning relationships, all that crap, man. It's like, I just got tired of it. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try something different that I have not done. And I want to go into my 40s, feeling like a different person and appreciating what I have and doing it sober, doing it with sober eyes so I can feel again and so that I can have a clear mind. And it's been the most rewarding thing that I could have done to myself and for myself. I don't have any regrets. People always ask, do you wish you would have stopped sooner? And it's like, no, everything happens for a reason. And I believe that I had to experience that in order to appreciate what I have now.
Yeah. And I think, so you had said somebody had asked, people had asked, what happened or did something happen? And you say nothing happened, but I'll challenge that because that thought actually is the thing that happened for you. It was a realization that things could be different. And then it was a curiosity in you to actually go that way, because whether people's vices are alcohol or heroin or scrolling Facebook or whatever, I know one thing that you and I have connected on early on is both of us had this like desire for deep meaning and purpose in life. And so what I think happened for you is there was a choice and there was a moment where you had to say tomorrow's going to be different, and you actually said it. Because think about how many people around us that we know and we work with that they're sitting on the couch watching TV, maybe have a thought, I want to make a change, but they just never do. And every year is the same thing and they just never do. And then 40 years later, a lot of people, and this isn't to, I'm not bashing on people, I'm just saying, I know, because I'm human, right? I know people do this. And then it's like, what's the thing in one person that says yes and moves forward? What's different about that person than the person who doesn't say yes and their life is the same now as it was 10 years ago, right? But that was your moment, that moment where you said, this is enough. Like, I want something different. And you didn't maybe even know what different looked like, but you took the initiative and probably on the next day started doing push-ups or something. Because I mean, I see now you're in the gym. You're the last person. I'd have taken bets 20 years ago on which of us is going to be like the workout enthusiast 20 years from now. I would have bet money that you wouldn't be that guy.
No, that's fair, man. I didn't care about my health at that point. Because when you're young, you don't think about that kind of stuff. You don't think like, what's it going to be like when I'm 40 or 45 or 50 or 60? And so you do punishments to yourself. You punish your body with lack of sleep, a bunch of energy drinks, smoking, drinking, taking drugs, doing all this stuff. And like, it wasn't really, it took me that long, I guess, to just realize like, hey, like life is short. Things are going to pass you by. And what do you want your legacy to be? Like, do you want to be remembered as the person that was always partying, always drunk, that making stupid decisions, and that it eventually killed you? Because I lost my dad to alcohol. My grandpa, his dad, died of alcohol. I'm like, I'm not going to continue that cycle. I have a nephew now. My brother Pete's got a son, and he's 6 years old, and I love him to death. Great kid. And I want to break the cycle and be a better example that it doesn't have to be the family curse that continues. And I don't want my legacy to be like, oh, the guy that drank himself to death. Like, what kind of way is that? That's such a waste of life. I think you and I are very similar, though, in the aspect of like, there's many things that make us similar, but we're both doers. Like what you just said right now, there's a lot of people that say this. And I actually had a conversation last night on the podcast I did last night with a buddy where we were talking about, everyone says, I would love to play guitar. Someday I'm going to play the guitar. Well, why not now? Why do people say someday I'm going to do this? Someday I want to do that? There's so much wishing and so much someday. It's like, you need to make it happen right now. You need to make your changes now. The things you want in life, you got to go for them. You need to act now. And if it's important enough for you, you're going to do it now. You'll find time. There's so many people that have excuses of, well, I don't have time. You have time. You can make time. You can shift things around. We're adults. It's not a matter of there's not enough time. It's your desire and your drive that you have. And that's one thing I've always admired about you, is that I know that you're a person that's very driven with what you do. And when you do something, you put your heart into it and you go all out. I love that.
Well, so this is pretty cool. I love the direction that this conversation is going. So I actually kind of know the answer to why people don't do it. And what it is that space of that dream that never gets picked up is a safe place for people.
Yeah.
It's safe because the dream can stay alive in their mind. And as long as they don't attempt it, they can't fail it.
That's very
right?
true.
And so it's actually fear of failure that keeps people from going forward, because it's safer, right, to keep that dream going for 50 years than it is to attempt it and fail. Because the reason, if someone attempts it and fails, then they will feel, and their identity for themselves will be a failure. Objectively, they're not a failure. Like, the world might tell them they're a failure, their friends might tell them they're a failure, they will tell themselves. But if they, that'll be a self-fulfilling kind of a prophecy, right?
Yeah.
So just overall, in general, most people that have a dream that never fulfill it or even attempt to fulfill it, it's simply because it's fear. It's fear of failure, and it's very safe. Because I've played with dreams and just let them just be dreams and just keep working at, thinking about it and realizing, man, that's a safe place, isn't it? I wanted to do this and 2 years ago, and I'm still not doing it, but I keep thinking about it because it's safe, right? And I can keep thinking about it for 20 years and it'll be safe. But then at some point, there's something in some people that's, I don't want to say inherently, but some people just get this epiphany and then they go, what, today's the day, and just do it, right? Almost like a reaction, like almost like they want to keep themselves from stopping themselves, which I think of you in that sense. Like, there had to have been a day where you started working out and you probably didn't want to. And the first time you did it, you're like, man, this sucks, but you just kept doing it, right? And you just kept doing it. And then, eventually something that probably started off really hard and sucked became something that was actually fun and enjoyable.
Yeah. It becomes
But you
a
had to
pattern.
push
It's
into it.
Yeah. Like, it's no different than, because I'm an addict. Like, if I do something, I do it and I do it, I do it, I do it, I do it. Oh, I overdo it. I get to the point where I'm like, all right, like, slow it down a little bit. What would you say that, because like I said, you've always been kind of a doer. Where's the fine line between because you said you have things that are just dreams that you just keep thinking are just, dreams that you don't do. Where's that fine line where you decide to just pull the trigger and do something that you want? Or what drives you to pull the trigger and if a listener's out there wanting to do something, but they just don't know how to finally just give in to what that desire is, would you say that there's something inside you that you tell yourself, or something that you do to do it, or take a step at a time, or what motivates you when you have this thought in your head from a thought to actually taking action?
So this kind of goes really fundamental to the space I was talking earlier about, where my recovery is completely different. And my last 3 years of sobriety is a different kind of sobriety than I've had my entire attempt, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to remind me exactly what this is, because I'm going to go somewhere for a second, and I don't want to lose this thought, but I definitely want to touch base on something real quick.
Okay.
So 3 years ago, I was working a full-time job, making quite a bit of money, and I found myself back into alcoholism. And it came through, like, my company sent me to Florida, and I was on a plane, and I was stressing because I had like almost 3 years of sobriety. And I was like, well, I've been sober for a long time, I can drink again, right? Anyway, I punted that off. But that time period, like, things were going well in my life, and I got back into alcohol. Well, that thing about 9 months later landed me back into like inpatient recovery. So I went to inpatient. I went to Serenity Lane, which I will name drop that place because they have been nothing but just a miracle in my life. I got a particular counselor who worked in a space. There's like different kinds of methods and things that you can do when you're in like a rehab, right? Especially in 2025 or, modern times. It's not just AA. It's, there's a lot of different methodologies and science to back all this stuff up.
Yeah.
The particular counselor that I had focused on kind of going after negative core beliefs. That my first couple of sessions in group settings, and she has a way of like bringing out, what are some things that you believe, right? That you don't, that are negative, right? Well, this counselor was able to boil that down into a single negative core belief that fundamentally drives like my brain from childhood.
Wow.
And I'd never discovered this, right? And so we found out what it was, because everything that I would answer always had another level, right? It was like, no, that's not the negative core belief. Because I'd say something like, what do you think about marriage? And then my response might be like, well, it's just a matter of time, right? Before I get a divorce, right? And then she'd say, well, why do you think that is? And then it boiled all the way down. And here's the negative core belief that I believed. It was that there was something wrong with me. If you took anything and had a conversation with me and you were going to boil it down, every single one would always boil down to that I actually believed in my heart of hearts that something was fundamentally wrong with me that wasn't fundamentally wrong with other people. And when we captured that thing, right, and started working with it, I left Serenity Lane with like verbalizing that wasn't true. Now, it took some time. Like, I'm 3 years out of this thing now, right? But instead of just going to rehab and not drinking, I was going there and actually working on myself. And there was just one thing. Like, I'm telling you, dude, out of all the stuff that I've ever done my entire life, dealing with this one thing is the thing that has produced the fruit of my life in the last 3 years, which is insane. I mean, we could spend hours more on other podcasts talking about what life is like for me today. But when I stopped believing at a fundamental core human level that something was not wrong with me, when I started realizing that I'm not a failure and that it's not a matter of time, and that the reason why I believe that is because circumstances and situations in lives had just kept playing back that same story. It was just this like cycle, right? But it's not a conscious, like on the prefrontal cortex of my brain, thought. This thing is way buried in the middle of my midbrain. And these are the parts of your being in your brain that like drive like your survival, right?
Yeah.
All of these negative core beliefs. You ever seen that movie Inside Out where they have did you ever see that movie?
It sounds familiar. I've seen so many movies that it
So
sounds familiar.
I know some of your listeners will have seen that movie. So in that movie, there's these core beliefs, and this child grows up, right? And as a child starts forming these like 5 core things that become like their center of belief for like family and fun and all these different things, right? Well, this negative core belief was something that sat in me since I was 6. And it's the reason why eventually, no matter what I tried to do in life, if I didn't deal with that or even know that there was something to deal with, it was just inevitable. I wasn't born with something that made me alcoholic. I became somebody or believed things at a very early age and had things happen to me at an early age that created that belief. But again, it's not a thing I chose to believe. It's just what I did believe.
Yeah. Well,
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, they say that a lot of the issues that we face later on in life is from your childhood. Like it's all the core.
Yes.
It goes down to your childhood of how you grew up, what you were around, what things you were exposed to, and different people being in different atmospheres. And what always drives, like what always builds my curiosity is like how sometimes you'll have 2 kids that were raised in the same house, same parents, same parenting. It's like one kid will grow up to be perfect, this and that, and then there's always like one that goes off and does their own thing, that they live a little bit more rebellious or get themselves into trouble. And it's like, what is it? Something that maybe they felt like they were being treated differently, you think? Or maybe it's something that happened at school with other friends that they were hanging out with? Or like what like drives that, or what causes something like that? Like, that always, I always get curious about how that all works out. Are you, when you were going through, so was that therapy that you were doing there at the Serenity Lane, or is that like a psychiatrist that kind of helped you figure out what was going on internally, or what?
No, not a psychiatrist. Just in the recovery space, there's a certification that people can get called a CADC, and it's a certified alcohol and drug counselor. So it's I think it's at the associate's and bachelor's level. So you can get an associate's degree in that and get a certificate and work as a frontline counselor, right? So you're not a therapist, you're not a doctor, you're not a psychiatrist, but you're on the front line, and usually it's a peer support type of level position. Most of the counselors that you're going to see at that level also have dealt with their own addiction, right? Very rarely in that frontline space in at least modern stuff, very rarely are you going to encounter somebody that's like mentoring you that doesn't have their own lived experience. So this is why it was so meaningful and impactful. And I think I would just speculate that this individual that was my counselor, this was the route that they went that helped them beat their addiction. And then because, you'll find people will start to specialize in something, and it's usually going to be the thing that works for them, right?
Yeah.
And so the reason why I brought all that up was because the question that you brought up before was like, what drives you? What motivates you? And so here's the difference today. Today, when I sit down and decide that I want to work on some music, or if I thought, hey, I want to start a YouTube channel, or whatever the thing would be that I would want to work on, it is completely, my idea of doing something like that has been separated from my identity. So whether I do something like that or not, both for the positive or the negative, it can't be identity driven, right? I can't go after producing music because it's my identity. And here's the reason. Because if I was to fail in a particular project, I can internalize that and become a failure. But if it's not part of my identity, I can screw it up millions and millions of times until I finally get it right. And it didn't impact me as a human, right?
That
Like
makes sense.
my own identity, I'm still okay. Like if I set out to produce this awesome album and it turns out to be no one likes it and it totally sucks, I don't own that I'm a failure. It's just like, okay, well, that project didn't work out, right?
Yeah.
But because I am infinitely more valuable than anything that I can actually do. Like me as an individual, aside from my accomplishments, aside from my failures, I am I am capable, or I have everything that I need to be perfectly whole and healed, regardless of whether things work out or they don't work out, whether I produce something valuable or I don't. I have to come to I had to come to a space where my value was a fact of reality, regardless of what my circumstances say.
I love that. I love that mindset, because when you think about it, what you just said right now is basically like, for example, if someone wants to be a great producer or a great singer or a great guitar player or whatever, we'll just talk about music since we're both musicians.
Sure, yeah.
If someone wants to be a great producer and they're putting all of their time and their money and their efforts into being a producer, and they're constantly like, they're chasing after this because they want to do it for a living. They want it to pay their bills. They want it to reach levels of success where it's on the radio, it's, getting Grammys and all that stuff. If they don't get there and they identify themselves as a producer and that's their whole identity, that can cause a lot of issues that can lead you down a really bad trail. And you know what? That makes a lot more sense now to why I got heavy into partying when we were talking about how the band took that long break. That makes a lot of sense. So that definitely resonates with me with what you were saying, because the band has always been kind of like the band has always been how I identify myself, and I need to switch that and I need to not do that. And that's actually the reason why I started doing this podcast thing too, because I want to branch out from just being Cody the musician. And that's why I've been posting videos of me doing funny clips and food stuff. It's like, I want people to realize that I'm more than just the guy in American Overdose or the guy that screams in a microphone. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot more to me than just that. And a lot of what I like to say is that I'm an entertainer. I don't consider myself a great singer or a great musician. I like to make people laugh. I like to make people think. I like to make people question things that they're so convinced about. I like to challenge people. I like to motivate and inspire people. So to me, those are all things that motivate me to want to go out and do this type of stuff. Not that a podcast is going to pay my bills or me playing in a band is going to pay the bills or anything. If that happens, great. That, it'd be fun, but I'm not relying on that. And I'm not measuring success or failure by if I do that for a living or not. I had a person come to one of our shows in November, and we opened up for a King 810, which is a national act. And the gentleman came up to me and he said he came I thought because we were the opening act, I figured we might have some friends there and whatnot. The place was pretty packed, but this guy came out just to see us because he found us on Spotify. And he said the song he watched our video randomly come up on Spotify or YouTube, and him and his wife had just left each other, and he was going through a really dark period in his life, and he said he almost offed himself. And coincidentally, or maybe not coincidentally, our song Damaged came on his Spotify or YouTube, and he heard it, and that instantly snapped him out of that, and he felt like something connected with him in that song. And so he had to come to our show to see us when he found out that we're playing in Portland, and he had to tell us. And I thought, I got chills down my spine even still just now talking about it.
Wow.
But it's like, dude, like, you don't think sometimes that you affect people. You might just think I'm putting out a song or I'm putting words to lyrics, or, even in this podcast, this podcast, us talking about this might be the motivation that someone needs to get sober or know that there's hope to get sober. We don't think about the things that can affect people both in a positive or a negative way, because it can do negative as well. Obviously, like with social media now, I was just talking about this with a friend the other day. I can't imagine what it's like for kids, like with social media being such huge. Yeah. Can you imagine if social media was around when we were in like grade school? Like I can't. I don't even know what it would do to me. Like I'm sure I would have a lot of issues, even worse than I already have. And it worries me about the future, because it's like with kids worrying about how they look and trying these filters and whatnot, and feeling like they have to look up to, like, before we'd see models on TV, on magazines, on whatever. But now people are like seeing this now nonstop on their phones and in school and all this stuff. And it's like the pressures of being a quote unquote perfect or pretty person are much higher than they ever were, even when we were growing up. And it's just, it's wild to think what the future is going to hold as far as what kind of issues people are going to have later, 20 years from now when they're adults.
Yeah, we are living in a pretty incredible, interesting time period. On my way to this podcast, I was thinking to myself, like, what would it be like so just right now with the technology we have and AI music and all the different things that are available, imagine, Cody, remember when we very first started. I'm not even talking about after I had the house and stuff, but just like when we first started, I wonder what we would have developed into if our starting place was like now, like, because there would be another 20 years later from that. Like, where would we be today if today was 20 years ago? Like, holy mother.
We'd probably be dead.
Yeah.
You know what's funny?
I agree with that. I think you're right.
I was just talking about this last night. Remember when we had we were at Lisa's house and we had that 8-track recorder.
Yeah.
Pierre brought it and we tried to record drums in the garage, and we didn't know anything about sound back then. We didn't know that you had to, like, we were just like, we're just happy to have the 8-track and try to record a demo. And we kind of did record shortly. I think we recorded that song Inside on the guitar.
Yeah,
and we were so happy with what we came up with.
We were, and it sounded so good.
It sounded so good back then. Yeah, it sounded so good back then. But then now you listen to it, you're like, what the heck? Like,
yeah, I know, dude. I do that. I'll listen to some of those old tracks. I'm like, what the crap was I thinking?
It is so funny to think about that kind of stuff. Cause like, dude, back then, like getting a microphone and throwing it in the middle of the room and then hitting record on like some tape player or whatever. That's how we would jot down our ideas and then try to write lyrics to it or remember what we played and then kind of like show people like, oh, this is like what we sound like if they're not seeing us play live. It's crazy to think what we've evolved into now, where like back then we could only dream of having time in the studio. It was like, back then it was like 60, 70, $80 an hour. And there's no way we were going to be able to afford that to record even a demo. But now it's like, I know you have your own studio at your house. I have my own studio at my house. And it's like, you can just sit down and you can record and get great recordings from just.
I want to tell your listeners how dedicated Cody Perez is to American Overdose. He refinanced his car for $5,000 for studio time for the first album. Get that on the record. I didn't mean to take your anonymity away on that, but that's how dedicated you were, man. Like, you were all in.
Well, you know what else I did just recently is I had my dream car, man. I had a 2000, well, it was brand new back then, 2018 Subaru WRX. And when I got that car, I told myself, because it was my dream car, I'm like, I'm going to pay it off in 2.5 years. It's brand new. I put all the miles into it. I'm going to pay it off in 2.5 years, 100% dedicated to doing it. I made it happen. When the band got back together, we needed to transport stuff back and forth. And we didn't have a way to do it. I had this car that was paid off. Awesome, $45,000 car paid off. And I was like, okay, well, this car's not going to get it done. So I traded in my car that I had paid off to get a truck. So now I have a Toyota Tundra so I can haul band gear around, and got myself in another debt when I had a paid off car, dude, with low miles and everything, to get a Toyota Tundra that like will haul band gear around just to make sure that we can get to and from shows and for all that stuff. So that you reminded me that I did that. I forgot. I completely forgot that I did that with the Mazda.
Oh, because I was you used that studio time for me to record Dead Girl on the Dance Floor.
Yep. And American Me and Love Hate Lullaby. There's a number of tracks that you were involved in. We still actually play American Me. That song is still really cool. Like, we play it live, and
that was never one of my favorites. My favorite, I will tell you this. I just got to say this for the record. I want you to know there's 3 pivotal moments in my experience with you and American Overdose that literally have shaped everything that I did from then on and probably into the future musically. And the first one was you brought me MIDI. First of all, you brought over pirated software, threw it on my computer, and I was a noob, dude. Okay. Sonar. I still have it and still use it. And I did upgrade to 8 though, but anyway. Okay, so that individually, and then you had thrown this idea about MIDI, and I didn't even know what it was, but I just bought everything I needed, and it changed my life. It changed everything, right? Because I was using drum loops, and then the minute that we got MIDI, I quit using any loops, and I created my own percussion from then on, period. Then the second thing that changed my life was being in the studio with Alfred, which yeah, I know him and I didn't get along very well. I don't think you like me very much, but I have mad respect for the tech that he was doing and the different things, the techniques that he was teaching. So just being a guitar player in the studio, you get to just learn what they do because they're right there. They can't not do it because you're right there.
Yeah.
So the whole left, right, multiple guitar panning changed everything for me. Like all my music that I've ever created from then on, all stereo and very wide, right?
I love that.
And then the third one was Dead Girl on the Dance Floor. Like that song, I'm telling you, dude, hearing it live, like you weren't even there because you had sent me there to go record it.
Yeah.
I recorded it. I think at the time I even brought a stripper with me, which that's not who I am anymore. You remember that, dude?
Yes.
I picked up a stripper the night before. She stayed at my studio, and then we went to the recording studio in Portland. Anyway, okay, I did that. Not proud of it now, but I'm a different person. Anyway, but when I heard so I recorded the guitar track, right? And then I heard it back before anybody could hear it. It blew my mind because we were using both the crank and my triple X.
Oh yeah.
And we did we did left, right with the bridge pickup. And then we did left, right bridge pickup on the triple X. And then we did left, right with the neck pickup on the crank. And then when Alfred mixed all that together, it was like this solid wall of crystal clear distortion that was heavy and raw at the same time. Like it was smooth, grindy. It's just everything that you could ever want in distortion. I will never forget that. That was like it created a core belief system in me, if you will, right? And so then you would have years later, right? I've already left Salem and I'm doing music on my own. Then I learn about EDM, and that Dead Girl on the Dance Floor is what led me into that.
Yeah.
So nowadays, I'm actually very heavily influenced in like dubstep, bro step, EDM, and soon to be synthwave.
I love all that stuff too.
When you have like nephews and stuff and like kids, they're like, as a musician, I'm trying to grow with the times.
Yeah.
And I got my nephew saying, dude, you need to incorporate some synthwave because that's like the thing now. I'm like, okay. And I've even got like K-pop elements in my music now. So I've got no rules. I've got no barriers to the kind of music that I will do because I just am in love with music.
I love that.
That one thing I want to touch on real quick before I turn it back. When I had talked about certain things not being part of my identity, there are things that are. So rather than like my success as a musician cannot be tied to my identity. Music itself is part of my identity. Like I believe, even in my faith system, in this world, when we pass away, people will say there's things you can't take with you. I do believe that kind of embedded in the genetic makeup of who I am, there's music there somewhere, right?
For sure.
And so however that plays itself out, if I was born 200 years ago, I probably would have been a symphony composer, right? But, and if Mozart was alive today, he wouldn't just be doing orchestra, dude. He'd be doing dubstep. He'd be like Skrillex or something.
Yeah.
So, it's just music is just that thing that exists and layered in me. Now, my success though, and those components, they can't be driven by identity. Otherwise, if I fail, then I would see myself as a failure, and I don't want to do that.
And I think also failure though is also failure is what you the person that's like measuring that considers failure and what you consider success. Because a person's success, like my success may be just to get a song completed and out there. Another person's motivations may be, well, if you don't sell 100,000 streams in the first week, then it's a failure. So it's something to keep in mind is like, success and failures are different for different people. It's just, I think a lot of people associate success with money and monetary things. And it's like, if that's all you're worried about, you're never going to be happy because there's never enough money in the world to bring that smile to you. I will always know you. What?
I think we need to give ourselves permission to fail, but not have it define us as a failure.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like because I fail every day at something, but I don't like look in the mirror and go, I'm a failure. I go, well, that didn't work. That didn't work. What's a better way I could do it? And I keep moving forward. And every time I use every single obstacle, every single shortcoming, every single fall as an opportunity to get back up even stronger.
I
And
love that.
that's the thing that separates some folks from others.
I 100% agree. And I love that. I was about to say, you dust yourself off the ground and then you keep moving forward and you find either you find another way to do it and you get it done, or you move on to something else. Cause it's like, it's life is so short. And, you know, it to me, it's like my failure, just because I don't reach your level of what you expect to be a success doesn't mean that I'm going to feel that internally. I will always know you as a person that definitely has music embedded in you. And you're a very talented guitar player. Anytime you get brought up, always about like, oh yeah, we had Jeremy in the band before, a great guitar player. And I mean, even B and them still talk about you, about how great a guitar they've remember you from jamming at the old 12 gauge house. And music, dude, you're going to live on far beyond when you are gone. Your music is going to live on. So that energy, your thoughts, your whatnot, you're going to live through the music that you left behind. So you're going to leave your trace on the world even long before you're gone, or long after you're gone. That's the one thing I love about music, is that you're putting down a feeling that you can't really describe. Like, when you write your guitar licks and you put together your synths and whatnot, you have this vision of what you're probably thinking it sounds like, and this emotion that you're wanting to put out. But another person completely that has no idea what you're writing about may take it a whole different way, and they interpret it in their own way, which is awesome in itself, because that's what I love about art, is that it's all in the it's on the perspective of the person that's looking at it. You can write things a certain way and make them be how you want them to be, but someone else is going to take them and make them their own as far as how they see it. And that's A-okay with me.
Well, thank you, Cody, for inviting me to come on and have a conversation in a podcast. This has been amazing.
Yeah, I want to make sure and have you on again, and let people know, what you're up to, anything you want to shout out, any websites, anything that you're a part of that you would love the listeners to go check out. Drop the links in the goodbye here, and then when we post this episode, I'll have you make sure and send me the links that you want me to share in the description of it.
I have a barbecue business, grogansbarbecue.com, actually. And I'm in Roseburg, but I can deliver up to 3 hours out in any direction. Grogan's Backyard Barbecue is the name of the business, but my website's grogansbarbecue.com. And I'm working on a controversial music project using a lot of AI. I don't have any social media yet. I'm still in the middle of building it, but maybe 6 months from now, you look up Child of Flame is my artist name. I will be pretty active on social media with that. And I'm considering kind of branding Child of Flame as my, I don't know, my musical identity, I guess. But
I love
that's
that.
something to look forward to. It's that maybe we'll have a whole nother conversation on that topic, just because in that AI music space, there's a lot of different things people are doing. And I think that everyone kind of tends to lump it into one thing. People think that everyone's just pushing a button, making a song. There's actually some really cool advanced things that you can do as an accomplished musician of some sort.
Agreed.
To do things that are not just pushing buttons. But it's pretty wild.
Yeah, I was going to say, you mentioning the barbecue business, that's a whole nother conversation we could be having on another podcast, and the AI thing, because I want to do.
I've seen some barbecue out of you, bro.
I have a Traeger. And I have a Weber grill. I love grilling.
I see your
love
food
cooking
on social media all the time, man. You're making some really good stuff.
So I got to know, when did you start cooking? Because I didn't know that you cooked or grilled or anything like that.
Well, actually, when I was in Coquille, that whole time period where I left Salem, when I arrived in Coquille, very early recovery, right? My mom and stepdad had a business in Coquille called Fat Tuesdays Mardi Gras Grill. And my mom was a caterer and my stepdad did all the barbecuing. So I was working for the business at the time just to make a little bit of money. And just by working there, I just learned the business. Well, years later, I won a smoker at a golf tournament, not playing golf. I won it out of a raffle, and it sat in my garage for like a year. And then I pulled it out and was like, turned on a YouTube video trying to figure out how to use it. And then practiced smoking briskets and stuff over the next few years. And then when I had gotten laid off in 2024 in February, I had some money and stuff. So I thought, well, maybe I'll start a business. So I ended up doing that, and I do catering now. I don't have a restaurant or anything, but I do cater. So
I love that.
grogansbarbecue.com, and we'll make it to Salem even.
Oh, that's so cool, dude. I love that. And I definitely have to come by and try it out if I make my way down there. What's your favorite thing to grill?
Brisket. I got good at, dude, brisket's very hard, and I worked very hard to get it to be good, and I failed many times. to get my workflow now. Now I can make a brisket and guarantee it.
Are
But in the
you
beginning, dude, it was like flipping a coin.
are you branding any seasonings or barbecue sauces or anything like that you're also making?
Nope, just a barbecue.
Hey, that's an adventure that I know you'd be good at, I'm sure.
Yeah, you're
a
definitely you got to
business
make a trip.
You're a businessman,
up
so I could see you doing that, like doing some Grogan seasoning or Grogan barbecue sauce. That'd be pretty cool to have.
Yeah, maybe down the road somewhere.
That'd be pretty cool. All right, man. Anything else you want to shout out?
No, we'll just catch you next time, man.
And that is the end with my guest, Jeremy. Thank you so much for being on the show. Jeremy, you are awesome. You're an inspiration, and I can't wait for us to meet up and reconnect again, buddy. It's been good to hear from you and good for you to share your stories and your experience. And please go check out his barbecue business. Go check out his page. He's got an awesome YouTube channel, and he is a killer musician, amazing guitar player, composer, and maybe like we talked about before, we might do some music together in the future again. Who knows? Jeremy, if you're familiar with American Overdose, he is the reason why we had the flag. He created that broken flag. He helped write songs like American Me on the very first album, which that song still, we play it live and people still ask about it. Like I said, we had a lot of good history together. So please go support him. Check out his page. And thank you all very much for tuning in to the Liquid Shape podcast. Please continue to support. Shout out to Eric Sheets, who I said it was my first supporter, a subscriber on our page that helps contribute financially to keep this podcast going. If you want to contribute, there is a link that you can donate however much you want, become a subscriber, whatever you choose to pay monthly. That's up to you. I really appreciate it because it does cost to do this. So shout out to Eric Sheets for not only being a guest on my podcast, but being a supporter of what I do, my band, and also this podcast. Thank you very much, buddy. The rest of you guys, we will have another episode for you next week. Continue to tune in. These episodes go live on Monday nights at midnight. Please continue to spread the word, continue to contribute to these questions of the week, and have a great rest of your day and week.
Be sure to find us on all social media platforms, follow and subscribe.